Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Song of Laugh and Death, a Game of Thrones series recap. Today, we're going over season 5, spoilers, theories, and everything in between. We're not going to go past this season in spoilers, so don't worry about that. Today, we have the tallest dwarf in Westeros, Alex, the master of whispers himself, our Game of Thrones expert, Manuel.
What's up?
And the main banker at the Iron Bank that kind of just chills in the back and eats a sandwich, David.
Bitch better have my money.
All right, man. So today, like I said, we're going over season 5. If you have any comments or theories with us, leave them down in the comments below. So let's get into it, David.
Thank you, Fernie. So season 5 of Game of Thrones premiered on April 12th, 2015. This season primarily adapts the material from A Feast of Crows, A Dance with Dragons, and which are the 4th and 5th novels of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire. Elements of the 3rd novel, A Storm of Swords, as well as the upcoming 6th novel, The Winds of Winter, which is unreleased, were also used. This season 5's budget was approximately $95 million, which is crazy. We're almost at the $100 million mark, which we will hit next season. Spoilers. Critics praised the show's production value and cast giving specific accolades for Peter Dinklage's portrayal of Tyrion Lannister. Viewership rose again compared to the previous season. This season holds a Guinness World Record for winning the highest number of Emmy Awards for a series in a single season in a single year, winning 12 of 24 nominations, including Outstanding Drama Series. Author George R.R. Martin, who has written has written one episode from the first 4 seasons, did not write an episode this season, and I guess you can really tell. Yep. Because the writing this season was kind of bad, especially like the Dorne stuff was atrocious, and I'm sure we'll get into that later.
That's why I'm surprised it got so many Emmy nominations.
Yeah, that's what, when you saying that, I was like, what?
Especially with Peter Dinklage winning for like Best Actor for Tyrion, and he was like in 4 episodes this season. Like 4 or 5 episodes. He wasn't a prominent character. I would have thought like season 4 he would have won something.
Yeah.
I mean, do Emmys do like technical stuff also? Because I mean, there is a lot of technical.
I didn't get that one.
Those.
It won like the makeup and all that other stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So in this season, Isaac Hempstead Wright, who plays Bran Stark, Christian Narin, who plays Hodor, and Ellie Kendrick, who plays Mara Reed, are absent this season because their part in the story has reached an end in A Dance with Dragons, which is the last book that he just recently released. So that's why we didn't see them at all after the huge climax in season 4. I hope we see them soon.
And I think A Dance with Dragons came out around this time, like the book. I think right before season 5, something like that. It came out around this time.
That's great. Yeah, and I know that he wanted to release The Winds of Winter because he had already been writing them like simultaneously, and he has yet to release A Winds of Winter. And there's still, 2 more books after that?
It's Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring.
Crazy. And
It's so crazy because, like, yes, the book hasn't come out yet, but I always see on Twitter, like, around Game of Thrones when it's on, people just complain, it's like, hey, you got to release these books already because you're going to die. Because everybody's, I guess he's like, 70-something? Or
70, yeah.
And people are just like, hey, we don't care about you. Like, you're going to die eventually, like, pretty soon. Like, release your books already. Like, that's all people are looking forward to.
And the reason why people are telling him that, because one of his author friends named Robert Jordan, he penned The Wheel of Time. That's becoming a TV series on Amazon. He died. He didn't finish his book series. So someone had to go in and finish it. So people tell him, don't pull a Robert Jordan, and he gets mad. He hates when people tell him that. George R.R. Martin, like, he like flipped someone off once.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I'd get mad too.
That's a pretty
that's
shitty thing to say, yeah.
It's really fucked up.
no, he owes it to his fucking fans to release his fucking
anybody's
books.
shit.
You think so?
Yes, he does, dude. We need closure. Closure.
Oh, and another fact of Thrones is that by this time it was the most pirated show ever, of all time. So
like 100 million downloads for like per episode.
Per episode, per day. No, I don't know. I don't know per day. Right?
I mean, when you say 95 million, I'm thinking also like how much do people actually watch the show, and how much money is invested from the public to watch the show? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And around this time, Breaking Bad was still around. Which Breaking Bad was like 2 million an episode and not 9.5 million. And that was like the number 1 series at the time.
I mean, you don't have coked out meth dragons in Breaking Bad, so it's okay. So do you have anything else Fact of Thrones wise, or
Nope, that's all I got for this season.
do you want to go with general impressions of the season?
Yeah. Alex, what were your general impressions for season 5.
It's weird that you'd say that Tyrion won like this what Best Actor award through this season. He won that.
Yes,
That's so weird because you're right. Like you think he'd win something for the previous seasons because he was so great, and he doesn't really do much. He's a prisoner. He's just kind of he's just like wallowing by himself, and it's just like he just killed his dad. He's just like
he's depressing.
He's all depressed. Yeah, he's depressing, and Varys is just like, no, you're good and you're great, and he's just like, who am I? And he's just drinking. I'm like, what? Like, how do you win Best Award for that? But
I mean, I'm just questioning whether they take in consideration like other seasons.
Right? Is that
prior?
maybe what it is? Like up to this point now, everything connected.
Or maybe the Emmy Academy felt they owed them the award,
Yes.
so they gave it to them the next year. Because I've heard they do that.
Yeah.
And I think they even created an ensemble cast award because of Game of Thrones. So now like the whole cast can win an Emmy, not like just one good actor. Mm-hmm. I think they won. I don't know if it was that season they won it, but one of the seasons they won like the ensemble cast.
Yeah, yeah. I can't say. I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about it because I like this. It still kept me going. It still kept me interested into what's happening in the world. You know, because people are. I mean, at this point, Tyrion is living has left King's Landing after killing his father. So there's that like burden in his life now that he's like I killed my own family. Like I'm killing my own family basically. I killed my own father. But he had every right to do so, I think, as well. And so it's leading him to travel different parts of the world. So you're starting to see different people meet these people who it's always been like, oh, this is what's happening here. This is what's happening here. And now it's slowly becoming like everybody's together. You know, everybody's starting to realize like what's going on or whatever, you know. So I liked it. It was a good season, but yeah. What are your thoughts though?
I think I mentioned earlier. I think this season could be summed up with like episode 7 through 10. The beginning was slow, and it took me a while to be like, all right, like this little nuggets here and there where it's just like, okay, this is a good, interesting thread that's gonna lead somewhere. Like Cersei telling Jaime to go get Marcella. Like, okay, they're gonna end up somewhere else, and Tyrion and Varys like traveling, and then Jorah taking Tyrion, and it just, but all the action and all the like meaty parts are at the end, which I guess if you want to have like a good season, that's the way to do it. Like, kind of set up things, and then like at the end, just like you have to wait till the end to see something good. So I mean, but overall, I think I would give it like a 4 out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
Just because those 4 points is just like every episode from like 7 to 10. I don't know.
That's true.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I liked it. You know, it was good. I mean, it's not my favorite season. I felt they did everything in this season in order to deal with them in season 6. So in a way, it was kind of like this was the season I ended up hating a lot of characters, and then they were dealt with in the next season. So that was. I mean, I just gotta say one word: Hardhome. That was for me the shit. So like kind of like Fern was saying, the ending was awesome. Like the last 3 episodes were fantastic
on all 3 fronts, like with Jon, Daenerys, and
Everybody.
Cersei.
I did like the interaction between Varys and Tyrion in this season a lot. I mean, because Tyrion was always complaining, and then Varys would kind of have to like counter complain, like, "Why are you bitching when I was throwing your shit overboard?" You know what I mean? Like, even though you were shitting through a box, I had to pick it up and throw it overboard. So it was kind of a season of balance, I want to say, and like everyone that did something ended up paying for it. So the season was good. I mean, it was more cerebral in the first half, and then it gets real actiony at the end.
Yeah, I had the same impression with the whole like Tyrion and Varys like situation. I mean, Tyrion just came off as a bully, and it wasn't. I didn't really like Tyrion this season until the last like 3 or 4 episodes. But generally, overall, I thought it was a weak season. The writing was bad. Some of the directing was bad. The CGI was horrible, and that's because they have a huge budget around like when using the dragons like Drogon and stuff. I don't know. And you can really tell like. I mean, with George R.R. Martin not being too involved with this season, that it kind of suffered a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I did enjoy that my favorite characters did take a back seat, like Arya and Brienne and stuff like that. Like they really got pushed to the back, and then they brought the main three, Cersei, Jon, and Daenerys, towards the front, and we really got to see like their dynamic and what they're trying to do, and how they're destined to cross, because like they're kind of like, I don't know, they counterbalance each other so perfectly, and I'm excited to see like where this goes, especially after the way the season wraps, where you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Okay, so we're gonna start. We can dive into the season. We're gonna start with episode 1, and okay, I like the way they started the season. It was with Cersei kind of walking through the forest with her friend, like young Cersei walking through the forest with her friend, and finding that hut and talking to Maggie the Frog, which is the witch, and she's like, "I want to know my future," and she's like, "Yeah, you want to know your future until you know it."
Yeah.
And then she gives her the prophecy of her kids, and it's like, what I marry the prince, and the prince is like, no, she's like, no, you won't marry the prince, but you'll marry the king. He'll have 20 kids, but you'll have 3. Gold will be the crowns, and gold their shrouds. Now at first I didn't know what shrouds meant because I'm fucking dumb, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that's what they put over their coffin. So I was like, so is she implying that her kids are gonna die? I mean, we already have Joffrey dying. Marcella meets her fate later on in the season, and Tommen's still alive though. So I feel like that's kind of like sets it up, because she also tells her, "You'll be queen for a time, then comes another younger, more beautiful, to cast you down and take all you hold dear." And I like the way that they cut to present day Cersei, like walking to, or not walking, because she's being carried into the sept, and she's walking up the steps, and Marjorie's just there, and like it's just like, oh shit, like is she the younger person that's gonna take out she holds dear? Because she's kind of like last season we said, like she's digging her claws into Tommen, and yeah, so I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and young Cersei, a bit of a cunt. She's
Yeah.
an asshole.
Well, definitely.
You know
Old
her,
Cersei, still a cunt.
You know her friend dies, right? Her name is Melara. And when Melara asked Maggie, she asked Maggie, "Will I marry Jaime?" Because Melara was like Cersei's best friend, and she tells her, "Not Jaime nor any other man. Worms will have your maidenhead. Your death is here tonight, and can you smell it on your breath? Because she is very close." So Cersei ends up killing her and throwing her in a well because Cersei doesn't want her to spread the prophecy to anybody. So Cersei kills her. Little girl Cersei kills her friend.
Wow.
Yep.
Damn,
Evil
just
bitch.
fucking
Even as a-
cold-hearted, dude.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the prophecy, Manuel? Like, this is a huge thing, and Game of Thrones has only done it 4 times in the past, or 2 times in the past at this point, where they do a cold open, and this prophecy, like, you see throughout the season, she starts to get really paranoid because things are coming true, and she has a breakdown towards the end. But
Yeah, like it's similar to the show. There's just like another whole paragraph, but I'll just read the prophecy because Cersei asked her, "Will the king and I have children?" And Maggie says, "Oh yes, 6 and 10 for him, for Robert, and 3 for you. And gold shall be their crowns, and gold shall be their shrouds. And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you."
so what's the Valonqar?
The Valonqar is Valyrian for brother.
Oh shit.
For brother or your little brother. And technically Cersei's older than Jaime by minutes. And of course she's older than Tyrion. So in the books, it's destined for her to be killed by one of her brothers.
I wonder.
I was told by the prophecy, like, of course, like, everything in her prophecy is coming true, but it could change, so I don't know.
See, and that's the one thing. That's why I always had this thing with Melisandre, because in the books, in the show, not so much, but in the books, all the prophecies come true. They just don't come out exactly as you think they are.
Like, and they word it, and then I mean,
And
in
it's
general,
kinda vague.
It's vague, so anything could be interpreted from it.
But they happen.
Yeah, but they happen in some way or another, and then it makes the connection.
So it's also one of the theories in the book with the Valonqar is like, since it means little brother, they're thinking the Hound might kill Cersei because she's the little brother of the Mountain. I mean, he's the little brother of the Mountain.
So it doesn't have to be like a related like little brother. It could just be any little brother.
Right, because it says the Valonqar, but everyone's assuming
And
either
then Jon.
Tyrion or Jon.
He's the little.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, he's the little brother. Yeah,
Little brother.
Technically.
Bran.
Oh yeah.
Roll over her, like put his wheelchair on her throat.
While he works.
Yeah, while he works in her and mind rapes her.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
Hey, she deserves it.
Yeah.
All right, so then we see Tywin inside the Sept of Baelor, dead with those stony blue eyes.
Yeah.
And Jamie kind of tells her, like, we can't let people out there like tear us down, because to him, people are just coming to verify that Tywin's dead because they can take power now, and he's just like, we have to fight against them. And then she kind of retorts him with like, yeah, but the person that killed him was Tyrion that you let go. Like, you fucked up, basically.
This is where I have to like agree with David with the writing. You never feel the impression that Jaime Lannister, especially in the show, that he's so worried about the family's politics, of like their loss of power. So then all of a sudden he's like, they're all out to get us. I don't know. It felt odd for me from Jaime. Like, I thought he would have been a little more military. Like, okay, you know what? Everyone's dead. Let's man the city. But he became very scheming all of a sudden, and it didn't seem to fit his character from the show.
Do you think that maybe he had to like act that way to feel Tywin's like role now that he's gone?
I think so.
Because he's gonna be like the not the head of the household name, because he can't take titles and stuff, but he's still like the, for back a little term, like the second in command in his immediate family.
Yeah. Oh, of course. But then there's the brother. There's what's his name? Kevin Lannister. So in the book, he kind of steps in, like he comes into the small council and stuff.
And speaking of Kevin, his son Lancel that we met in the first couple of seasons, that was fucking Cersei on the side, and that just kind of got injured in battle with the Blackwater. He's at the, I want to say, funeral, whatever, and he's just like in rags and barefoot, and it's like a completely different like character from what he was before. And
He looks like a dude. He doesn't look androgynous anymore.
No, he doesn't.
no, but he's still kind of like, I mean, I think puberty hit him, like what, like the actual like actor, like from like the first seasons to now, like he's a little bit more beefy, and still short hair kind of works better on him. But yeah, he's dressed like a beggar basically, and his dad Kevin is like, yeah, sorry for his appearance. Like he joined this fanatical group of religious fanatics. They call themselves the Sparrows. So we kind of get introduced to the Sparrows, which is like a group that Kevin says that they would never come to King's Landing when Tywin was dead. So now that Tywin's dead, like we see the first thing of like, okay, people that are just looking for power in King's Landing are coming in. And then Lancel kind of seeks out Cersei when she's alone, and he apologizes to her for leading her into their unnatural relationship, because they were fucking before, and now they like, you know, he wants to seek forgiveness from the gods and from her, and he kind of implies that he had a hand in Robert Baratheon's death. And he's like, oh, the hunt and the wine. So I think did he get him drunk on purpose to like get him killed?
Mm-hmm. The wine was extra potent.
Oh, and then Cersei just kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about, like possible deniability, and it's just like, oh, she's still a fucking cunt. Like she's not gonna take responsibility for her actions. And then Tyrion, we sort of mentioned he was in that fucking crate, and like you said, like yeah, his relationship with Varys was funny, because like you know what it was like to fucking shove your shit through the air hose, like you know how it was to pick up your shit and throw it overboard so we don't get caught. Like there's always a retort to that. And then later on, like he comes to Varys comes to Tyrion, and Tyrion sees him. He's like, the eunuch, master whisperers, whatever, the snake or the spider. And then Varys just resorts with like, half man, imp, and they just kind of like jokingly insult each other. I thought it was a really good like moments where like they're just like, yeah, they're becoming friends. Like if they weren't friends before, they are now.
Yeah, it's like in the real world, if how we all like talk shit about each other and stuff. It's like we like each other, you know, like we're good friends.
It's like the thing, like if I don't talk shit about you, it's because I don't like you. It's like I don't know how that fucking works, but all right, I'll take it. And then Varys kind of essentially tells Tyrion like he wants Tyrion to help Daenerys take the Iron Throne, one way or another. I think kind of like an advisor role. So yeah,
I like that. because you're like, oh, what is he there for? And they obviously he says like, I think you'd be a great advisor for Daenerys. But I love how they arrived in Pentos at Illyrio Malpatis' house. So I'm like, hey, that's where Daenerys started at the beginning of the season. I thought it was like a cool like connection for their stories.
And the cool thing in the books, he sent overseas, right, to Pentos, but he stays with Illyrio. So him and Illyrio take like this long ass ride to Volantis. So he's not with Varys, he's with Illyrio Mopatis, and Tyrion starts connecting the dots. He's like, these motherfuckers planned the whole Targaryen restoration without anybody knowing. So that's a great piece of the book that's not in the TV show.
Well, he kind of like implies to it at later on in the season when he's talking to Daenerys and he's saying like yes, Jorah was informing Varys on your movements, but I think he also had a big role of you surviving so long.
Yeah.
And she kind of like, oh, do you trust him? He's like, yeah, I trust him. So
yeah.
I mean, they don't go into as much of detail as they should have or they could have, but they do mention something like that.
Oh, and you know, real quick, and in the book, what's really awesome, guys, is that there's a Targaryen that's alive, and he's being secretly raised by Varys and Illyrio Mopatis. His name's Aegon. Targaryen. Yeah, well, he claims to be. You know how the two kids were killed? Well, supposedly Varys smuggled out the little boy, and they threw some other random servant's child there. So the Mountain killed some other boy, but he did kill the little Targaryen girl. So this for like the past 20 years, they've been training this like orphan Targaryen to take the throne back or to marry Daenerys. Like they're trying to figure it out.
They have a name, right? Like there's a like an like they have like a title, like kind of like Targaryen bastards.
The Blackfires.
The Blackfires. That sounds fucking dope.
So we don't as the book readers, we don't know if he's a Blackfire or if he's a regular Targaryen. But then Illyrio in the book says it doesn't matter what color of his banner as long as he's of the dragon of the blood of the dragon. So sorry, going on a tangent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Love the lore.
And then they do like in Marine where Daenerys is at. I call her Dany because we're close like that. They bring down that harpy from the Great Pyramid, and then there's that one Unsullied that just kind of like looks at it and like turns to the camera and like smirks. Basically, like he doesn't look directly to the camera, but like, and then we see him go into a brothel and get killed by the Sons of the Harpy, which the costume design on the Sons of the Harpy is fucking dope. Just like the golden mask, like I fucking want one for Halloween because it's so cool.
Super cool. I like the Whore's outfit too, the minimalist. Awesome.
Yeah. Especially with the advanced model when it's like everything. And it's kind of weird because like they kind of show like a side of the Unsullied where now that they're free, they can do whatever, and like you can see that some of them like didn't have that woman's touch or even like a mother's touch, and like the way he's laying with that like prostitute, it's not just like a sexual thing. He's just like the little spoon, and she's just like stroking his head, and
that part got me so. I felt so happy for him. Like finally, a little bit of love. There's your throat,
and then
pinche vieja culera.
And she plays a big part in like the whole like getting the Unsullied killed.
Yeah,
she's always there.
Me and my girl, when that part was happening, like him being caressed, right, like just being mothered, right. We were just like, what's going on? Like this is, and I was like, you got to think, like the Unsullied went through all this craziness, just being made into a soldier, that feels nothing. And now, we were just talking about it. She's like, oh, and then that happens, and I'm just like, holy shit, what the fuck?
They can't even have a damn break.
Yeah, they just get killed. It's fucking intense.
And then to finish up, Marine, she kind of tells him like, I want this guy buried with honors in the Garden of Graces or the something of Graces.
Their religion over there, the Temple of the Graces.
Yeah, and she's like, her advisors they're like, oh, that's gonna send a message to the masters. Like, yeah, I want them to fucking like lash out because we can kill them easier or like get them to come out easier.
Yeah.
And then they come back, Dario and that other dude. I hate that guy. Like the way he looks.
Lorak.
So Lorak. His that's Lorak. So I'm gonna call him Lorax.
They picked. I didn't like the character. I didn't like the actor they picked for him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he just. I mean, we always talk about punchable faces, like with Joffrey. He has a punchable face.
Oh, yeah.
In the book, he's supposed to be a little more like a perfumed, pampered prince. So he's like, "Don't worry, my love. Whatever you want. Yes, yes, yes." Like he's almost like effeminate in the book. Later, you find him with like all these women, right? But like the way he acts with Daenerys, like this guy seemed just unsure.
Yeah, you're right.
And in the book, he's more like,
Hey.
"I'll do whatever you want. Just marry me." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and this he seems hesitant, but I think he had every reason to, because
He's
she's a
terrified.
mother of fucking dragons. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, he kind of says like we took Yonkai and they agreed to like end slavery, but they want us to open the fighting pits. And the fighting pits to Daenerys is human cockfighting. She hates it. She doesn't like it. And
but it's okay for Dothrakis to kill each other on her wedding night.
but
that's okay.
But that's I think
voluntary?
That's voluntary. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because the fighting pits were for slaves. But,
That's true.
And like the masters make money, not the slaves.
It was for a good cause too, man. Don't be selfish. They're gonna donate the ponytails to Locks of Love.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know the story of the ponytails with the Unsullied, right? How they earned so many because they killed all these Dothrakis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they can
like
they
in
cut it
Cobra.
off when they lose a battle.
So like their spears have ponytails, Dothraki ponytails. It's cool.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's cute. Little scrunchies on it.
And then we see Sansa with Littlefinger at the Vale, and Robin's a little fucking bitch.
I love Robin.
Just
Dude,
like-
that kid sucks at
I
everything.
love that kid.
He's just so
The way he even hugs Uncle Peter, like he even hugs him stupid. Like I love it.
It's too much affection for mom,
Like-
which killed him.
like if he was alive to like in like this time period, he would be playing Fortnite instead of like outside.
Yes.
Bad. So bad.
And they leave the Vale, and Peter Baelish tells Lord Royce that they're going to the Fingers, and then Sansa's like, "Wait, we're going west. We're not going to the Fingers. Like, where are we going?" And Baelish is like, "Somewhere so far away, not even Cersei can put her hands on you." It's just so real cryptic, and she's kind of like, she's like, "Okay, like this guy's weird." And then at the wall, we learn that there's gonna be a voting for the new Lord Commander.
The Lord Commander.
Sir Alistair is one of the like early favorites, along with somebody else. That Dennis, the Menace.
Dude, when they introduced John this season, or reintroduced him, he went full heartthrob with the little like moose hair and just like the smoldering look, like in
The
every
smoky
scene.
eye.
Yeah, the smoky eye. It's like he went full GQ, and he's like, he's too pretty now.
GQ, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when at the end of the season, like there's a certain scene, and his hair is just fucking voluminous. It's just like wow.
It's gorgeous, dude. He looks like a border
Product is
collie.
like fucking using in winter and up in Castle
Yeah,
Black.
and then Stannis tells
Seaman.
Stannis asks Jon to convince Matt to have his Whiting army fight for him to take over Winterfell, and he's like, we should go back to Winterfell, take it over, like get your revenge for Robb. And Jon's like, I'm a sworn brother of the Night's Watch now. I'm like, I'm not gonna leave my post even though he wants to. And I hate this fucking whole like honor and pride thing that they do this season, like especially with the Wildlings. Like Stannis is like, fight for me, you'll get land in the north. We'll keep you fed, and we'll give you lands, and they're like, no, we just wanna do our own way. Like, you're giving the best fucking deal you're ever gonna fucking get. Like, what are you talking about? Which again, like, yeah, it sounds pretty dumb, but they're getting a big deal. Like,
especially
deal.
since they're running from White Walkers. You know what I mean? That's where I'm kind of like, okay, the logic isn't there. They're
That's
running
with Mance,
from
right?
White Walkers.
He's
Yeah.
trying to convince Mance. And what the thing is, though, the fact they're wildlings, they're beyond the wall, and they don't even know about the dead. You know what I mean? That's like, it's dumb to me. It's just like that's what he's also protecting. He's like, no, we want to be free and do whatever we want, but he's also, I mean, they're also giving reasons. Like, John's the only reason that they're giving. John is the only one who knows. Like, no, this is a great deal. Like, we need to do
I
this
think
shit.
they all know, because that's the reason they're following Mance in the first place, because they're trying to get south. Like,
Yeah.
they're not just hanging out in the north.
Man's objective.
Okay,
is to
so
get
they
them
have,
all.
so they know.
They know, yeah,
understand.
and they're trying to get south. That's why they're trying to get over the wall. And now that they have like a way to, when they're just like, all you have to do is fight for me. Which, of course, like, maybe they don't want to fight, but still,
Yeah.
I'd rather take that than just be like, no, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, no shit.
And Mance is like basically so Stannis like, no, fuck you, and then he gets burnt. And I like Jon's mercy kill to Mance. It's just like puts an arrow through his heart before he starts screaming in the fire because he's getting like burnt alive. And so he kind of earned a lot of respect with the wildlings, but lost respect with his brothers.
Yep.
It's kind of like a video game, and it's like plus 5 respect, minus 5 respect, like on either side.
Oh yeah.
The factions. It just
It doesn't help me. I'm in the same position.
Yeah.
Can I tell you how it's real different in the book, real quick?
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
well, they're burning Mance, but it's not Mance. It's actually the Lord of Bones, who Tormund kills later. Remember when Tormund in the TV show talks? He goes up north and he talks to some
That's
dude in
the
a bone
Hardhome
thing.
episode,
Yeah, and
yeah.
he beats him. Okay, well, so Melisandre does a spell on Mance, so he looks like the Lord of Bones, and the Lord of Bones looks like Mance Rayder. So they're burning the Lord of Bones. So Jon thinks he saves him, but actually Mance is sent with a group of women to go rescue fake Sansa from Ramsay.
God.
Why
That's
is it
how-
so convoluted?
Yeah, I know.
It's like plans within plans within plans, like the book is. So I understand.
and it's all
why-
fake. Like,
Oh yeah, everyone thinks it's real. It's all fake. Everything's fake.
Fuck.
But Mance Rayder, well, and then he gets a letter from Ramsay saying, "Hey bastard, I got Mance Rayder. I got all the women. Give me my bride back. Fuck you, Jon Snow. Come
Hey
kill
bastard.
me." Yeah.
You every sentence is ended with bastard.
Bastard.
Hey bastard. You bastard.
All right, and then moving to episode 2, Cersei kind of tells Jaime, he's like, hey, you have to go to Dorne and get Marcella after they get that necklace, Marcella's necklace, sent from Dorne with like in the
mouth of a serpent.
mind of a serpent, which is fucking cool. Like I wish I had that to like put something on, like so Jaime goes and gets our handy dandy mercenary Bronn to help him with that mission.
Who looks bored as fuck. He looks so bored with the girl he's with.
Yeah.
He's just like skipping stones. Like, I'm rich now, but
Yeah.
have to put up with this bitch.
Yeah.
And then he also plots the demise of her sister. Just like, oh,
Yeah, because
well,
he's
no,
also
don't
not
worry,
promised essentially the castle and all that stuff, all that glory.
And they gave him the dumbest girl, and I love it because she's like, "Yeah, yes, but we don't have a castle." He's like, "Nah, don't worry about it. We'll fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, what do you
Skipping rocks.
mean? And she's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry, my love."
Yeah, we got it.
So Cersei's the acting hand of the king. She self-appointed since
Well,
her
Tommen did it.
appointed
Well,
her.
No. Like, but she
Tommen.
claims Tommen.
Oh yeah.
Tommen
She's
did
trying
it.
to manipulate everybody, and Kevin Lannister sees right through it. And man, I was like, "You go, Kevin Lannister. You go, Glenn Coco." He was like, "No, unless I hear directly. Peace out." And he like leaves, and I'm like, "That's so fucking cool."
I
The
mean,
master of the armies is gonna fucking walk away like that. Dope.
I kind of thought of it a different way where he's just like, all right, I don't want to take orders from a fucking woman. Fuck you. So, but maybe it makes more sense where it's just like, yeah, the king's not gonna do shit. Then we already had a king that didn't do shit. Like, I'm not gonna fall for the same thing.
I'm sorry, I have to break in, but I love Marjorie's dad. People think he's a horrible leader. I love that man. He's so nice.
He's so fucking annoying.
He should be ruling the Seven Kingdoms because he'll just like throw parties all the time. Like, no one will be
I think he
killing
was
each other.
casted incorrectly. Well, I don't know anything about him, but he's too round for me.
I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about him either, but I feel like he's just kind of like,
Oh
Like,
yeah,
kinda
He is.
because
He's a dumbass.
Cersei's like, hey, you're gonna go on
just like a jolly.
It's an honor to go to the Iron Bank.
yeah, he's gonna go on to Bravos to kind of get money for that. Everybody's like, ooh, really? And then it's like, all right, go ahead now. He's like, oh okay, yeah.
And we're gonna send you a personal bodyguard of Marin Trant.
He's like, nah.
Fucking hate that guy. No, and I love when Tywin, like the season before, he's like, "Go fetch me some pen and paper." He's like, "Oh yes, sir."
Like he's just like a golden retriever, like basically.
yeah.
Don't
A
insult
jolly.
golden retrievers like that.
And then we go to the wall, and we see Gilly is being tutored by Shireen to read, and Shireen is kind of like this fucking. Like, you don't know how to read, let me fucking teach you. Like,
The cutest fucking
She doesn't give a
kid
fuck of who you are. Like, I'm going to tutor you because I fucking love reading. I was like, all right, Reading Rainbow, calm the fuck down.
Yeah, she's book it, right? She's getting those personal pan pizzas.
That's great.
And then Stannis tells Jon, like, hey, we got word that, like, Lady Mormont, like, now, because Lady Mormont's, like, now in the picture. We don't see her, but we get, like, a squirrel, a crow, whatever, a raven, parchment. What is it called? What is
Scroll.
it?
Yeah, a scroll.
That the Mormons are already going to recognize as Stark in Winterfell. So he kind of tells them like, if you help me take it back, like I'm gonna legitimize you. You're gonna become a Stark, and you're gonna follow me. Like basically,
He heard the call.
yeah.
Sorry, that's another reference.
So he's just like, no, I can't do that. Like, and then they start voting on the Lord Commander
Castle Black.
at Castle Black, and Sir Alistair's like the front runner, and like I said, Dennis, I forget his last name, and then Sam's like, hey, John's pretty cool, right? And
Yeah. Exactly like
and
that.
I'm kind of glad they did it like this in the show because it's like half of a book and it's half of a George R. R. Martin book. Like this whole scheming to get John promoted. So I'm glad they did it like in 2 episodes in the TV show because it would have been like a season.
Jesus.
yeah, and then the vote ends up being on tie between Alistair and John, and then Maester Aemon was like the last vote, and he votes for John. So John becomes the new Lord Commander
The 998th Lord Commander
of Castle
of
Black.
Castle Black.
Well, I mean, is it just Castle Black, or is it the whole like
The whole wall.
the whole wall? And then we see Arya get to the House of Black and White, and they kind of did like a Fight Club scene where they're trying to get into the house to get into the Fight Club, and they're just like standing outside and like they just ignore them.
Yeah. That's a good connection. That's funny.
So she's just sitting outside, just fucking going over her fucking names and like her list.
She throws the freaking coin into the.
Yeah, she's like, "Fuck this shit," and she
Yeah.
goes into Bravo's, and then that's when she's about to get jumped by those 2 guys, and then they get scared off by the guy that answered the door, which turned out to be Jaqen H'ghar in another fucking face because he's a faceless man, and he's like, "All right, you can start our training now."
You may begin to be no one.
A girl must follow.
In Marine, the Unsullied are kind of patrolling the streets, and they're trying to catch the Sons of the Harpy, and Dario's like that fucking like streetwise motherfucker where he's like, "See, you guys are Unsullied. You guys have no fear, so you guys don't know what fear looks like." And because they're in that house, and like, there's nobody here, and it's like, "Oh yeah," and then he fucking like punches through the wall and like gets a guy out of the wall. It's like you gotta learn how to you gotta learn how to hide or something. Like you have to have fear to know what it is to hide or whatever. And they kind of take him prisoner, that guy, and one of her small council people that was a former slave kills him or has him like killed. So she has to like set an example, like, hey, this guy was, yes, he was bad, but he was also our prisoner, and we had to have a trial, and this other guy prevented him in the trial, and so she has that guy executed. I forget his name, Masmir or something.
Yeah, and
Massador.
In front of the public,
Massador.
right?
And he is Grey Worm's brother.
Is he?
Yeah,
I
in
thought
the book, it's explicit, like he's the brother. So I don't know why I didn't mention the TV show.
I thought he was just like a person from Marine.
I thought he was, yeah.
No, I mean, I guess it doesn't.
So in the book,
In the book, it's his brother.
It's an Unsullied turned
yeah,
against
but
them.
but he does. But that doesn't happen. None
no.
of that happens.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
even crazier. That's even worse. Like
the whole Sons of the Harpy, like that happens, but it's like Daenerys' whole trial is that she doesn't want to be queen of Marine. She wants to go to Westeros, but she needs Marine. So her and Barristan always joke, like, you have to wear your floppy ears and pretend you're like a rabbit. Like, you have to pretend you're something you're not when you're ruling Marine. So that's the whole, like, storyline of Marine, not so much the Sons of the Harpy versus Unsullied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It happens, but it's not so prevalent.
So who would you side with? Like, Daenerys giving the Harpy a fair trial, or Massador taking matters into his own hands and killing him?
I would have gone with Massador.
You would have sided with him and
Yes.
said, like, all Harpies must die?
I would have.
Because she ends up killing Massador, and then the entire city starts to hiss at her. And it's
Yeah.
like,
'Cause she
fuck,
fucked up.
it's a double-edged sword, but I would have gone the same way. I would have gone
Yeah.
with Massador.
Yeah, she wouldn't have made the right decision either way. So yeah, you're right. Like, it's a double-edged sword. but I feel like if she wants to kind of encourage this thing of like free men and like no, like she has to give people fair trials.
But I would have pulled an America and and declared that guy a terrorist, so it would have been okay to kill him. Because not all masters are terrorists, just these masters. And then, you know, Mastador still would have been alive. It's like so you give to your people, and you also show the masters like, fuckers, we'll kill you. We'll just label you something else, and we'll kill you.
And then I think this is the beginning of us seeing like the descent in like Danny's rule, because they just start a riot basically, and they start throwing rocks at her, and they're like, all right, like we kind of see why the Sons of the Harpies are kind of like escalating their attacks later on.
And to add, one thing that also doesn't really come out in the show is Daenerys fucking destroys the economy and the lives of everybody in Slaver's Bay. It would be like it's like saying someone invaded us, like United States, like the dollar drops, the peso drops, the Canadian dollar drops, like everything turns to shit for our three countries because of a one invader. So that's another reason why they hate her. Like the whole economy was based on slave trade, and since that was destroyed, it's like they're all turned to shit. So even the Dothraki hate her because they can't sell slaves anymore to Slaver's Bay. So there's a reason they hate Daenerys. Like
I hated Daenerys this season. I'm sorry. I liked it last season. This season is just like
fist bump that shit.
Fuck, get out of here.
She was doing a lot of listening.
No, and she wasn't written right. Like it's like they were written for the TV show characters, but not the core character. So you can see the difference in the writing and her reactions.
Yeah, and then we see Drogon again for the first time in a while.
And he's fucking huge, dude.
Massive.
Especially compared to the dragons that she put inside the sept or whatever, the cave. Chained them up. And the first episode, it kind of like we end her story with her visiting her dragons, and then they're just being like, fuck you, and just like snapping at her. And it was so cool because she's like she's walking in and everything's quiet and dark, and then you just hear and the fire just like lights up the room, and it's like it's a good shot. I was like, damn, that's fucking dope. It scared me because it's just like a jump scare. And then we move to episode 3. Now Tommen and Marjorie get married, and they do the dirty.
And several times.
And he's so enthusiastic about it.
How young is Tommen, though, in this?
I think he's like 12 or 13.
Jeez.
He's like, I want to do this forever.
In the book, he's 10. And he doesn't have any.
And Marjorie has to be what?
She's like 14 or 15 in the book.
Oh, in the show, she looks like she's 17, 18.
I read a thing that said that they aged them all up a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to be like 15. She's supposed to be like 17, 18 in the show.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he looks like 15. I mean, I'm pretty sure
13 through 15.
I'm pretty sure she's like what 20 something
In real life.
In real life,
she's close to her 30s.
Oh, jeez.
But
She looks like a who to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Leave her alone.
Her little
She's
perky
gorgeous.
nose.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny how he was just so like happy about it, and she's just like, yeah, this is what you're gonna get.
Yeah. Like it's such a child, like and he is.
But right away, once she gave him a little bit of the honey pot, like she was like, so your mother, she coddles you a lot. Like was she happy in King's Landing? She doesn't seem very happy here. And I'm not in King's Landing, but in Casterly Rock. I'm like, oh shit! Like she's already trying on their freaking wedding night to push her out, and I thought that was awesome.
That was awesome.
And then we see the sparrows kind of not forcing their hand, but like using more force. Like they barge into the brothel with the High Septon, like, and he's fucking. It's so funny how the High Septon is just like in his underwear, like on his knees, and all the gods are surrounding him like that.
Yes.
And what does he pick? He picks like I think he picks the mother, and they're like, oh yeah, always the mother, or something like that. Like they just, and then the sparrows barge in, and they kind of like beat everybody up in the sept, or not in the sept, in the whorehouse, the brothel.
See, that'll happen if Mike Pence becomes president.
Oh my god,
for real, I'm not kidding.
And then he kind of tells the small council like, "Hey, we need to execute the sparrows. Like they disgraced the religion or whatever." And she's just like, no, let's just chill out a little bit. Like, and then she puts him in prison. So, and then she goes talk to the High Sparrow later on in the season.
And another book side note: the reason why Cersei even approaches the sparrows is because the crown owes like 10 million gold dragons, so she forgives the debt if they would like be on her side. So that was a reason, like, because in the TV show it really doesn't, like, why would she do that? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, you're gonna go with fanatics, but in the book it's because they forgive a huge debt.
Since we are talking about the sparrows and the whole like religious stuff, I fucking hated everything about it. I hate when shows introduce religion into the show or anything that has to do with like time jumps or anything like that. I fucking hate it. Like Battlestar Galactica season 3 fucking sucked because they did all religion and it was, I don't know.
It has to be done right, and I
it.
feel like I was just bored.
I like religion in TV shows.
That's why, like, it has to be done right. But with this one, I just felt like, I don't know.
It was weak.
Yeah.
Well, I liked it so much because when they get their comeuppance, it was so worth it.
Oh yeah.
That's why I liked the whole build-up, and it showed like a reality. It's kind of like if all the homeless, poor, religious people started taking shit from rich people. There's nothing you can really do. Like, you just get overwhelmed by the flood, and that's what it was trying to show. But
and that's also what the High Sparrow talks about too. He talks about, he's like, when there's a lot of us, and you know what I mean, you can't stop us. He's kind of telling Cersei.
Yeah, and because Cersei was to go see him at Fleet Bottom, I think, and he's like serving soup, and she's like, why no shoes? They're like, well, I gave it to somebody that needed it more than I did, and she's kind of like, all right, like, cut the shit. And he's like, no, it's no act. Like, this is the way I am. Like, this is my religion. We get to the north, and Reek kind of like sees Winterfell and all these flayed bodies just hanging around, chilling. And he's kind of Ramsay and Roose are talking, and Roose tells Ramsay, like, we can't hold Winterfell if all the smaller houses in the north kind of like rebel. It's like, we need to have an alliance, and what best way to get an alliance is through marriage. And this is where Littlefinger's like fucking gears start turning, and
or they just don't stop fucking turning.
Because he tells Sansa, like, oh, we're going to have a marriage proposal, like, because she sees when they're at the Vale, he sees that he gets like a little thing, and like he just hides it away, and then she confronts him about it. It's like, what was it? It's like, oh, it was a marriage proposal. And she's like, oh, you're gonna get married again? It's like, no, not me. I'm like, you are, to fucking Ramsay Bolton, basically. And
I felt like I missed something. When did Littlefinger and Roose kind of like communicate? Like, I don't even know they kind of even knew each other in the show.
I mean, I think he's always like just has.
But is it like random? Like, hey, by the way, I have Sansa Stark now, so why don't you marry her? Like, I don't know how that happened. Like, I don't know how it was brokered, unless I missed something.
That's true. That's like a.
It was kind of a stretch.
Yeah. Well, maybe because the fact that they have Winterfell, and Peter has Sansa, so he's like, Winterfell, Sansa.
Right.
Maybe so he knows.
And maybe he brokered the deal between the Lannisters and the Boltons in the first place. Like,
he did. He helped with that one. Yeah.
Maybe it's not a reach, and it just adds more to the character of Peter that he's just in the background doing his own fucking plans.
True.
You know?
True. But normally there's like a
little hint.
A little hint. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you're going to marry Roose Bolton. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and so Sansa's kind of like, all right, well, fucking Bolton's marrying like family. What the fuck? But I don't know. She kind of goes along with it. Like, she's like, I guess. I'm like, not I guess.
Well, after he convinces her, because she's like, I'll die. I'll bite off my own tongue or whatever. Like, I don't give a shit. Do they meet? Brienne meets them in an inn, right? Is that this season?
Yeah.
Right. Like Sansa's like, I don't know who
They're
you are.
in one corner.
Yeah.
And Podrick's the one that's saying, I don't think they were tailing them, were they? Because Podrick says, my lady, Sansa. Like, he's like, Sansa's here.
It's Peter Baelish and Sansa.
Yeah,
because they see him at that another like rest stop.
Oh, that's right.
And
Another Bucky's.
Yeah. Brienne goes up to her and is like, hey, I swore to save your, or not to serve your your mom and to find Arya.
And protect y'all.
And she's like, well, my mom's dead. Like, and then Baelish is also like, you didn't do such a good job. Why would she follow you? And then they fight their way out of there, and then they start following them.
Yeah, which does look bad on Brienne. I mean, she's saying all this like, I was protecting your mother and all this stuff, and she's like, well.
And then he also brings up Brennan like, oh yeah,
weren't you also the one who
you were there when he died, didn't?
Yeah. Fuck.
She's like, it was a shadow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, whatever.
But she still can't lie about it. Like, like to her, it sounds ridiculous, and it sounds ridiculous to everybody else too. But she's still like, yeah.
But it's kind of like when Tyrion was in court and they're like going through like, oh, and you also did this, and it was like, oh fuck, he did do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, and you also did this, and then he's like, oh fuck, yeah, you're right. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was like shit on top of shit.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, peace out.
And then at the wall, Jon is. I like the scene where Jon is giving out roles to the people at the Castle Black, and everybody's expecting Jon to give like Sir Alistair like the crappy job. What was like it was something like to rebuild the latrines and
It's a good job for a ginger.
yeah. So so I was just looking at him like, don't fucking do it. And Jon, you see like Jon's thinking about like, I'm going to give him the crappy job because he's been giving me shit all this time. And then he gives it to somebody else like a ginger. And he makes Sir Alistair a first ranger, which is Jon. I feel like Jon being like, all right,
Respect.
this is the olive branch. Like, let's put our things behind him. And then he gives, what was the guy's name?
General
Slint, the Great Guard, which is like a castle that's ruined, and Stenser's like, no, fuck you, I'm not gonna go there. And what does Jon do? Fucking executes him for being a fucking bitch. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, which is
Fitting.
yeah,
Because I told you, like, he looks weak, he's out of shape.
And he he begs for mercy. Or he's like, please no.
I've always been scared. Yeah.
And kudos to fucking Jon, because him doing that for Alistair, First Ranger, he's still being the bigger man, the better man, and saying like, no, I still respect you, and then following his word, and fucking killing that guy, sticking to it.
And it was funny because when Sam first kind of gave Jon the nomination, Slint was like, oh no, we should back Alistair, and then Sam was like, well, Jon led us in battle when Sir Alistair was injured, and General Slint was hiding behind the cupboard or something
With a woman and a baby.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
And then as far as I didn't like they don't really talk about the Sand Snakes and Dorne, I didn't like the whole scenes within the House of Black and White where they're just like cleaning bodies and giving poison from the well, and it's just like a bunch of like, who are you? It's
just boring.
You be nobody.
I suffer.
So
Here, drink this.
Yeah, in my notes, I was like, oh, we got introduced to the House of Black and White. It's fucking awesome. Great set piece. It looks fucking eerie. But we're going to be here for a while, so get used to it.
Like, they did the Room of the Gods cool. Like,
Yeah,
you saw
what
that,
the
right?
faces
With all
are?
the different
Oh yeah,
gods.
that's awesome.
And then later we see the
Hall of
one with all the
Faces.
faces.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Hall of Faces.
And then the waif or the wife or whatever the fuck it's called.
The
wafer. She's just like a bitch to Arya. Like, I don't know if she's like tough love and like trying to.
Oh, there was no love there.
She reminds me of a Terminator robot.
Yeah.
Even the way she runs and shit, it's like, I will get you.
Yeah, you're right.
Connor,
And then they play the game of the
Lion game.
The Lion game, and she's fucking getting hit every time she lies.
He's naming off. Yeah. He's naming off things. And then can we just talk about it where he names off about the Hound?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I hate him. I want to kill him. And she smacks her. She's like, no. She's like convinced. I hate him. Smacks her. I'm like, I look at my girl. She loves him.
That's why I thought like because I think we were talking about last time where like, did she just leave the Hound to die because she hated him but she didn't want to kill him? But now we kind of see that she might just have affection for him, like at least just a little bit. Like maybe she's like, I dislike the Hound, like he wouldn't hit her because she's technically a lion, like, but she doesn't hate him like the way she says she does. And then Tyrion is just a Tyrion, and he wants to get out of this stagecoach that they're traveling in to go whore and drink, and they end up in that brothel with Daenerys 2.0 or Daenerys and a half Daenerys, where she's just like a girl with blonde hair, white hair, just getting passed around basically. And he's just like, he talks to a prostitute there. He's just like, I don't know, I can't fuck you anymore. Like he's like, maybe back in my day, like maybe a few nights ago I would have, but not like I can't. Like
He's got game though.
Oh yeah, he's got game.
He's just
Little
making
man, big game.
He was like, I got he's just making her laugh, and
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, Lannister always pays his debts.
Yeah,
And he's like, my family, whatever. And then she's like, okay. He was like,
She's like, come on, then.
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. And then he gets kidnapped by Jorah Mormont that was also there. I don't know what he was doing there.
He was there
Buc-ee's,
with
dude.
with the Daenerys.
Everybody meets up.
It's another Buc-ee's.
He's getting some jerky.
But it's fucking funny when Tyrion is just like taking a piss off a fucking ledge.
Again. He's just always pissing off ledges.
And then bagged.
Yeah.
And it's funny, in the books, Jorah Mormont is like with a prostitute that looks just like Daenerys, like in the show, but like he's like longing, wishing that it's Daenerys. You know what I mean? Like he's like looking at her and caressing her, and the prostitute's like,
Nasty.
whatever. I'm like, are you done?
All right, episode 4. Khaleesi. He's so in love with her. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
So this is when Mace Tyrell is sent to the Bank of Bravos,
Love it.
and because he's the master of coin now, and then Cersei goes meets with the High Sparrow, authorizing the revival of the Fate Militant, and they attack Peter Baelish's brothels. Like that's where they arrest Sir Loras for his homosexuality, and this whole like Tommen being a little bitch about it, like
Exactly.
Marjorie's like, hey, you have to help me. And he's like, all right, I'll go see what I can do. And he has his fucking guards with him. And then, like, there's just, like, three of the Fate Militant just standing on the steps. Like, and he's like, oh, the High Sparrow is praying right now. Like, he can't see you. He's just like, I'll be back later then.
You see, that's what I hated. I hated that so much. It's the king of effing Westeros. You know what I mean? And if they were the Fate, they would have listened. They would have been like, oh, well, at least wait for him. Like, I hated that. I just hated it. Mm. And in the books, Tommen's 10, so he can't rule. It's Cersei ruling. So that's another reason why I think they kind of like made Tommen such a little bitch because he's not a 10-year-old, so he had to seem weak.
Yeah.
And Sir Pounce wasn't there.
Yeah.
This mighty lion.
Ooh, Sir Pounce he's a faceless man, bro.
Sir Pounds.
And then at the wall, Jon has to write letters to everybody, all the lords in the north to not the north, but like the realm, to ask them for men, because we find out there's only 50 men left of the wall after the battle.
Yep.
And then he's kind of like, I kind of don't want to ask help from the Boltons because they killed my family basically. And Sam's there, the wise Sam is like, you have to, like, it's your responsibility now. Like, no matter what, like, that means nothing to you now. It shouldn't mean nothing to you now. Like, you're a Storm Brother of the Night's Watch.
Yeah, and you're still getting it on with Jilly, so whatever.
And then fucking Melisandre walks in and tries to fuck Jon Snow. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, it was just like the beginning of a softcore porn. He's just like, feel it.
Yeah.
Grabs his hand and puts it like,
Oil check.
yeah.
I'm always warm.
Yeah.
And I like what and then John's kind of like, he looks like he's going to give in. And he's like, no, I can't.
I love another.
No. And then she walks away and turns back. It's like, you know nothing, Jon Snow. It comes back.
Oh,
it comes
yeah.
back.
No.
The you know nothing comes back.
And in the book, it's awesome because when that happens in the book, and he's thinking of what's her name?
Ygritte.
Ygritte. And he's like, she was kissed by fire too. Like, he's all like, she's got a red bush. Like, it's almost like her. It's almost like her.
Yeah. It's okay.
But he stops himself also. Yeah.
Okay, cool. In the book.
But yeah, Melisandre's fucking
But
hot
they
as
have
fuck.
a kick-ass relationship in the book. Like, Melisandre and John, she's always giving him information and prophecies and hints, and he's like, I don't know who the fuck you are, lady.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
leave me alone. She's like, no. Always have your wolf with you. Don't trust these guys. They're your enemies. He's like, bitch, you don't know anything.
Yeah, and like even in the show, like she's like, "Come, let me show you." And he's like, I don't believe in visions or whatever. Like I don't need your visions." And she's like, "It's no trick. I just wanted to show you something." And then we kind of know how Shireen, Two-Face, aka Two-Face, was.
Oh, come on, dude.
She looks like Two-Face.
Oh, she does.
How she was affected by the grayscale, and how they did everything in their power to combat it. Like because grayscale, we learned that it's kind of like it spreads throughout your whole body, and they ended up stopping it just when it reaches like a side of her face. I don't know about the rest of her body, but her face is just one side of it.
So we know it's a skin condition that spreads. It causes the host to go crazy once it like takes over their entire body, kind of like a zombie or a rage zombie. And so Stannis tells her like, I feel so bad about what happened to you, and when you were born, people paraded over just to see you, and they gave me that toy that was infected with grayscale, and it pressed against your cheek, and that's where it spread. And he's like, and I brought every maester from across the world to come and save you. And you kind of see like he loves her, but he also keeps his distance because he feel like he fucked her over as a baby when he allowed that shit to happen to her. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of see like, oh, okay, like.
Yeah, and you see Sam kind of interested in how it was able to be stopped, because I think in his research, like it was impossible.
It's the first time ever, right?
Yeah.
And in the books, it's hilarious because all the wildlings are like, that's evil. Like, they just point at her like, evil bitch. You know what I mean? Like, the poor little girl's like, yeah, just like, what? They're like, that's evil.
Because Gilly mentions that one of her sisters had it, and that they just like left out in the middle of the woods, and she went crazy. So to the wildlings, it's just like they don't have the back a little like technology to deal with it the way that Stannis did. And then we get to Dorne, the fucking Dorne.
Stupid Dorne, man. They don't even name, like, the country is named Dorne and the city is named Sunspear, and they just call it Dorne. It's like, fuck you, we don't care.
It's like, hey, we're gonna go to Texas. Where to? Fucking Texas.
Yeah. What city do you live in? Texas.
Well, before they get there, like, I thought it was really cool and kind of touching. Because, like, last episode, we debated on whether or not Jaime liked or loved Brienne and Brienne loved Jaime. Like, they sail past Brienne's home, Tarth, and he's like, what island is that? It was, it's the island of Tarth. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like, that's Brienne's little hometown. And he was like, oh, okay.
He wanted some of them sapphires.
Yeah, but I fucking hated Dorne. And everything about it was poorly written. Their story was stupid.
Awesome filming location.
Oh yeah, it looks
beautiful.
Yeah, it looked cool.
Beautiful.
Granada, I think they filmed in Granada.
Yeah, like the water gardens are dope as fuck.
Looks like your backyard, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They filmed in your backyard.
Parts of it. No, and I mean, I'll just stop because I can go 3 hours complaining about Dorne, but it was sad.
Yeah, they get to Dorne, like Jaime and Bronn, and they're kind of trying to sneak their way to the water gardens because that's where Marcella was last seen. And they find those 4 guards, and they end up having like a sword battle with it. And I like how Jaime's like puts out his hand, with a golden hand, and just like catches the sword, and he's like, I can do that? What the fuck? So you get surprised, and then they end up taking hitting the guards, and they take their costumes.
Clothes.
Yeah,
their costumes. Halloween and Dorne.
I mean, yeah, their uniform, and kind of infiltrate the water gardens.
And I mean, the sand snakes come out right when they get captured, or no?
In the water garden.
The water garden.
Yeah, because they approach Marcella and
but that's
the prince.
So next episode. But yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to finish off, Jorah and Tyrion are on that boat that they stole from the fishermen, and
on their way to see Daenerys.
Yeah.
Which was the same motive that Varys had. Which was the same plan.
Yeah.
That's what Tyrion tells him. Like, hey.
Yeah, because Jorah has Tyrion like gagged and then takes off his gag and he's like, "Yeah, well, like, where are you taking me?" To the queen. He's like, "Oh fuck, I'm taking me to Cersei." He's like, and then he finds out like the queen is actually Daenerys, and he's like, "Oh, I was going there too. Like, why don't you just let me go? Like, or at least take off my bounds and we'll hang out." He's just talking and talking, and then he's like, "Oh, I think I know who you are. You're Jorah Mormont." Like he kind of figures out, and he reads Jorah like a book. He's like, "You fucked up, and you want to get her graces back again, and you love her." He's just like, "Bitch," knocks him out. Yeah. Like you talk too much.
Mm-hmm. It was good. It was a good conversation. Like
they became one of my favorite duos. Them two, because it was like a love hate thing, and like their whole story for the next like 3 or 4 episodes was like it was decent writing.
Yeah, it was decent. Yeah.
And then in Marine, we kind of have Sir Barristan have a good touching moment with Daenerys, where he kind of tells him a story of her brother, Rhaegar, and how he used to be a singer and
musician,
just like their friendship, and like that he used to stand in the corner and sing and get the money and donate it to charities, and sometimes they would just take the money and drink. And it's just like, yeah, that's what fucking bros do. Like they were just hanging out.
And dude, so he was beautiful. He was a Targaryen, beautiful, a rocker. The motherfucker could fight.
He
was hair. Like the perfect package. Like, man, that was
see no, so cool. and it proves how peaceful the kingdoms were under Targaryen rule. Like when the Targaryen, I mean, the Mad King was crazy, right? But like there wasn't. You could go out. You can go on the King's Road. You wouldn't have been attacked. You know, the land was better ruled.
Yeah, and then they do. Sir Barristan and the Unsullied are on patrol, and Daenerys kind of sends Sir Barristan like, all right, like he's walking through the streets, and then he hears a commotion, and the Unsullied are being ambushed by the Sons of the Harpy. And then they have that battle in that little corridor, and
which is genius, like tactics when it comes to attacking somebody who uses like long range weapons. Like if you're in close quarters, they can't use it against you, so a lot of them die.
And the Sons of the Harpy are local, so they kind of know the area better than most of them.
That wouldn't have
They're
happened.
also using little daggers.
What do you mean?
No way the Unsullied would have been beaten.
Well, okay, I was thinking about.
No way.
I was thinking about
it was a lot of Harpy.
But remember, they're the masters of spear, shield, and short sword. So those fuckers know to switch.
And I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it a lot this season too, where like, because there's a whole battle like later on in the season, and I was like, the Unsullied for being like super soldiers are getting beat a lot.
Yeah,
like they just get.
Like I get
maybe in there it was because of all those all the caressing, all the regeneration.
You see, yeah.
They're getting soft.
No, what was your point?
Well, I mean, because like they're like the best foot soldiers, so they're used to getting attacked, like ambushed and what have you. So they should have switched weapons. Like it was weird watching Grey Worm fighting with a huge spear, you know, at first, like in that tiny corridor. Like they would have known to switch. Like they're trained for that.
Because they could take a 10-foot pole and
dude,
like honestly, like I don't think they could have done it. Like I that's why I believed it. I'm like, oh fuck, it was smart. Like. It's like trying to hold like a 6-foot like pipe in this room, and like you're trying to stab them.
And
like,
it's even short, like it's real small.
Exactly.
Contained.
You can't. That's the best way to take them down.
Especially if you're flanked, you can't defend it because they're used to head on.
Yeah.
And then this is when we see like a good glimpse of Sir Barristan's like fighting prowess, because he's always touted as a great warrior, and we never really see him fight until this moment, and he takes on like 5 people on his own, basically, but ends up being killed in battle.
They shouldn't have killed him.
And Grey Worm is badly injured.
But Grey Worm wasn't there originally. Someone gives him the notice, right?
No, he was there.
Oh, he was there the whole time?
He was talking to Barristan.
Okay, that's
like
right.
They were
patrolling. Oh, that's right. Yes.
And in the book, like that doesn't happen. Barristan's still alive, and later Marine gets attacked. Right? George R. R. Martin, and it's not even in the book. It's a sample chapter from the next book, The Winds of Winter. He gives this speech like even you want to go outside and start fighting for like Daenerys. Like he gives this like 2-paragraph speech of like, I know we're scared and we're boys and we're gonna shit ourselves and pee ourselves, but remember every step forward. It's like I don't remember the whole thing, but Barristan Selmy gives this speech to the city, and the whole city like goes out to defend it. It is fantastic. And then for him to die in the show, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But they also kind of like skip over that whole city battle, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So like he had no purpose in the show,
Damn it.
which is kind of sad because that sounds fucking epic.
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
I mean, because he's all old and shit, and
And he's
still,
been through a lot of shit.
All right, and then we go to episode 5. Sorry.
Kill the boy.
Yeah, this is Brienne and Podrick arrive at the inn not far from Winterfell, and then they kind of speak to the servants there at that inn, and they kind of see whether they're still loyal to the Starks, and they are, because like the Starks have so much like name recognition, and they've been they're not rulers, but like they've been Wardens of the North for so long that they have so many people that love them, like people do Targaryens in Winterfell, or not Winterfell, in King's Landing, and they kind of just send a message to they form a plan to send a message to Sansa to like, hey, whenever you need rescuing, like let us know by a candle.
light a candle in the tallest tower.
She's already married at Ramsay.
Not yet.
No.
Oh yeah, not yet.
And then Ramsay is seen with Miranda, his
His side chick.
side chick, and she's just the jealous bitch, and it's just like,
Yeah, she wants to be the main bitch. She's
Yeah.
a side chick.
and Ramsay's like, no, like we're just gonna use her, like you're still gonna be my girl, but we're just gonna have to marry her and have to have kids with her, and like he kind of like just tells her like you're mine, and then Miranda, when Sansa's in Winterfell, she's like, hey, I want you to see something, and that's when she shows them Reek in the dog kennels.
Oh yeah.
Which is like just, I don't know, insult to injury, I guess. Like she, in her head, like Theon killed her brothers, and now she sees like this thing. It's not a person anymore. So yeah, that's pretty sick. And then Ramsay adds more to it when at dinner, when Ramsay forces Reek to apologize to Sansa for murdering Bran and Rickon. And he's just like, well, I'm good. I'm glad we got that over with. I was so tense in here. Like he just takes it as a joke, and yeah. And then that's when Roose tells them that he's having a kid with, what's his wife's name?
Walda.
With
Walda.
Walda Frey.
And then you see kind of Ramsay kind of like,
Oh yeah, he's like fuck. He's scared. He's
Yeah.
like fuck. Someone's
Sansa's
gonna
look.
take my place.
yeah, he's like, I just got fucking instated as a proper Bolton now. Somebody's gonna fucking take my place, and so he kind of has that. It looks like he's scheming something already. And then at the wall, we see that Master Aemon kind of feels like sad for Daenerys because she's the only Targaryen left, and he's like, the only other Targaryen is 1,000 miles away, like dying, like here, like a blind four or something like that. Like he feels bad for her because she's alone, basically.
So in this family tree, Aemon was the eldest Targaryen, but gave up the throne to his brother, the Mad King.
No, the Mad King is his nephew.
Oh shit.
He
I thought
gave
the
it-
Mad King was
No, it's
his younger brother.
the Mad King is his. Well, in the book, I don't know if they've changed it in the show. The Mad King is his nephew. So it was Duncan Egg, and Maester Aemon and some other guy. Well, one of the brothers died, so it was supposed to go to Aemon. Aemon's like, no, give it to Egg, because Egg's been with the people, and plus he wanted to be a maester, right? But Egg's been with the small folk, so he's like, he would be the best ruler. So Egg becomes the king, and Aemon retires to the Night's Watch.
Mm-hmm.
And he does have that little quote where he says, "A Targaryen alone in the world is a terrible thing," which
Yeah.
they use several times.
He's
Throughout
like,
the series.
Egg, I dreamt I was old.
He looked like he was already dead. Like
Didn't
just
the
looked
actor pass too?
Oh yeah, he died shortly after
Right?
filming.
Shit.
After he died off in the show. He later passed.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
and John kind of goes to him for advice, and that's when he tells John like kill the boy because he's asking whether he should ally himself with the wildlings, and because then Brothers and Watch won't like that. He's just like, you have to do what is best for everybody, not just like us. Like, you know what's to come and how to fix it. Like, you have to kill the boy. Like, be a man and make the tough decisions.
And to piggyback on that, what's not really explained in the TV show is the wall was built way before the Targaryens, way before Valyria. So when they said the realms of men, it was really to save humanity from the Long Night. So that's why and you don't get this in the book, but there's certain like weird doors in the north that if you say your Night's Watch, like what is it, wrote or whatever that thing, like we are the men of the Night's Watch, it'll open. Yeah, like there's like magic doors they find that'll open if they say they're. So there's this whole lore of the Night's Watch that you don't really get in the TV show.
They have fucking Alexas on
Dude,
the wall.
it's kind of like Alexis.
And then John meets with Tormund, and he tells him like, "Hey, we need the wildlings. Where are they now?" And it's like, "Well, they're at Hardhome. If they're gonna be anywhere, they're gonna be at Hardhome." And it's like, "Well, I need you to bring them here." And Tormund's kind of skeptical. He's like, "How do I know? Like, once we get on ships, you're not gonna slaughter us all?" He's like, "Because you know what's out there. Like, I've seen it. You've seen it. Like, we need to bring them south." I was like, "You have my word." And Tormund agrees to it, but only if John goes with them as well, because he's like, they're not gonna listen. They're not gonna listen to you just giving orders. So you have to be there to tell them, like, you're the Lord Commander. Like, they need to hear it from you, just to keep that era of respect. Because Tormund's also gonna tell him like, hey, Mance trusted this guy once, and he spared him burning. Like, he mercy killed him. So John has to go, so he agrees, and this kind of upsets like most of the people on the Castle Black. So, and then we see Stannis talk to Sam about Dragonglass, and he's like, "How? Like, I heard you killed a White Walker, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, how'd you do it?" I was like, "With Dragonglass." He's like, "Oh, we have a lot of Dragonglass and Dragonstone." So now we kind of know that. Yes, they found this little cache of Dragonglass at the Fist of the First Men, but now we know that there's a whole lot more at Dragonstone, so that's gonna be important eventually. And then Stannis says like, "Okay, we're marching to Winterfell the next day." And it's just like, well, shouldn't we wait for John and the Whites to come back? Maybe we can convince up again. He's like, no, we have to go now because winter's coming. And if they delay it, they're gonna delay it for not months, not weeks, just years. Like, it's gonna be years, maybe even decades before they even get to attack Winterfell. And they take Shireen and his wife. I forget her name. What is her name?
Crazy bitch.
Crazy bitch.
Selyse, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
They're with them. Even though they're gonna go into battle, so
it's hyphenated, crazy bitch.
And you could see like the lack of George R. R. Martin's input when they handled like Stannis and Selyse and Shireen. It was just kind of like
they were an afterthought.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? They're still around. Let's just get rid of them and have a nice day. Like, I thought it was kind of wasteful.
And then in Marine, after the battle that happened between not the battle, it was like the ambush of the Sons of Harpies and the Unsullied. Dany gets all the masters from Marine and like brings them to the pit where her dragons are at, and she just threatens them like, you need to cut your shit or I'm gonna use my dragons and then I think she lets them eat like two of the masters, and then she kind of realizes like, okay, I have to compromise somewhere. So she agrees to open the fighting pits again and marry that.
I just put on my notes. I just have the dude.
It starts with Lorak.
So Lorak, as Jorah and Tyrion are making their way back to Marine, they take a shortcut through Old Valyria. Is it Old Valyria?
Valyria.
Yeah. Valyria, and they see a dragon fly by, which is I'm assuming is Drogon because he's the only fucking dragon left.
Yeah.
And I think that's Tyrion's first time seeing the dragon.
His reaction was great.
He's just like staring
He
at it, like
freaks the fuck out. And I mean, this is the first time we ever see Valyria, and the only time we get to see Valyria in the series. And I thought it was fucking awesome. I love that it looks really like Predator-like, like the jungles and like the structures. And it was like, oh man, like this was like a real civilization. And Tyrion does say like it was one of the greatest cities until it wasn't. And they were good at literally everything, like manufacturing things. Their economy was amazing. They had dragons. Making Valyrian steel. Their language was great. It was just one of the best cities ever. And he said it happened 300 years ago, and even with all the modern technology at this point, like they still can't replicate what they did back then. So
yeah, they couldn't replicate. They can't replicate Valyria.
And then they get attacked by these Stonemen, which is people affected with Dragonstone or no grayscale.
Grayscale.
Did y'all like that? I found that fucking ridiculous.
What?
No, dude, I loved it. I
It looked so dumb to me.
They were dumb looking, but
Like-
I was genuinely like concerned for Jorah and Tyrion. Like, then he's like, you can't get touched, like, or you're
It
fucked.
just looked like it looked like a costume. Like it just looked like Stone Man. I don't know.
And what's so funny in the book, you know the Rhoynar, you've heard that, right? Like the Queen of the Andals and the Rhoynar. Were the Rhoynar the people that they took the ships from Essos and landed on Dorne? Where their kingdom was on a river. So the way they describe the ruins of that civilization looks like Valyria in the show.
Oh, okay.
Because Valyria in the show is like a stormy sea, and there's still smoke rising from the ground, and there's demons and shit.
Sorry, do people that would have like the grayscale, do they end up in Valyria? Because there's more than one.
No.
And I feel like I've heard somewhere before that they round them up from their respective like homelands and they
Drop them off there.
drop them off there
In the TV show, they do that.
in this TV show.
Because
You
it's
want
like
me to-
deserted and like.
Do you want to
Yeah.
hear a story of how Grayscale started?
Yes.
Okay, well, this is how it started. Okay, guys, so the Rhoynar, what I mentioned earlier, they were the masters of the Great River, the Rhoynar River, I think it's called. So these motherfuckers had like their own civilization that rivaled Valeria's, but all along the river. But they were peaceful fishers. They had water magic, so they could make like whirlpools and stuff. Well, the Valerians wanted the land, so they went to war. So when the when the Valerians first attacked the Rhoynar, well, they drowned their dragons. Like, fuck you, you got fire, we got tons of water. So they sent 1,000 dragons and boiled the river and killed everybody. Well, I'm really reducing it. One of the last kings of the Rhoynar cursed this. He was like the priest of the river god, which is a giant turtle. So he cursed the river that everyone that was in there that alive got cursed. The next day, Grayscale started, and it spread all over Essos.
Shit.
So
Okay.
there's colonies of Grayscale all over, but it's always by the river. That's why it was perfect in the TV show, like they were in Valyria, but basically
But they were
it's like
going through a river
Right.
through the city.
exactly.
It's so funny not funny, but like it's so cool how like those olden stories how things started. It's because of magic, and I feel like magic was so prevalent, and now it's
Right.
just like
Exactly.
now it's just like an afterthought. Like it's just
Like
like
it's dying off.
No,
Like it's-
and that's where you get the whole faceless men involved because of magic, the Valerians had dragons and slaves. Well, the Bravosi were a colony of escaped slaves. The only way to stop that power was to destroy Valyria. So it's the rumor. The faceless men went and killed the main wizards of all the Valerians.
Oh,
And
shit.
they couldn't continue the magic. The volcanoes exploded. Valyria fell in one day.
so that's how
fuck.
the faces men are like
Yes.
like the most powerful like magic. I don't think they're magic users, but maybe like in a certain way with the faces and stuff.
Yeah, they use death magic. Yeah.
Speaking of the faces men, in episode 6 we start with Arya Stark in her training with the faces men at the House of Black and White. And then she tells her they start like her training, which is just picking up bodies, washing bodies, picking up bodies, washing bodies.
Hey, guess what they do in the next episode?
They wash more bodies.
Yep.
Shit.
That's why I think
Hey
it's
man, spoilers.
that's what I think. And that's why I think it was so like it was so boring. Just like she even's like I've done everything you told me. Like when do I start? And it's kind of like the whole like what was it? Karate Kids like wax on wax off. Like You have to practice doing all this shit. And it is until Arya takes it up into her hands to kill a girl that was sick, that her dad took to drink from the poisoned well, and she kind of like calmed her down. It's like I was sick too, but then my dad brought me here, and I drank from this well, and I got better, and now I serve the face, not the many-faced god.
Yeah.
And she kind of like puts the little girl at ease, like okay, and then she makes her drink from the well, and the girl dies. And then that's when Dragon of Cards like, all right, I think you're ready now.
You're a murderer. Come on.
And he shows her.
The girl is ready to be no one. He said.
Yeah, and he shows her the.
That was really fucking good, dude. I felt like he was in the room.
And he shows her the
shit.
He shows her the Hall of Faces, which is fucking. I wonder how deep that thing goes, because it's underwater. Like it's just on. It's like a little island, like on the water, and then they go downstairs, and then it's this big fucking room on like downstairs.
Huge vault.
So I was like, I wonder where how big this fucking place is, really. And then Dorne again, fucking Dorne.
Oh, and when you put on the face, you get like the memories of when they died. So when you first put on a face, like Arya, when she puts on a face of some woman that was strangled, she was like, like she was like choking, and then she had to relax, and it goes away.
Shit, that's fucked up.
So yeah, those are little details the book has that the show doesn't.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then in Dorne, we see Marcella and her promised Trystane Martell walking through the water gardens, and they're fucking horny little teenagers just making out everywhere.
I'm glad. We need a little happiness, man.
Yeah. And then like Jamie and Bronn find them, and like they're just making out. He's like, Marcella, and she's like, oh, Uncle Jamie, what are you doing here? Like really embarrassed. And Trystane's like, let's go talk to my dad. He's like, no, we're not gonna do that. And then Bronn sees him kind of like reaching for his sword. He's like, don't do something stupid, kid. And then he pulls out the sword, like just barely touches the sword, and he punches
something stupid.
Yeah. And that's when like the sand snakes
Fucking vomit.
come in and try to kidnap Marcella. But it was really dumb, because before that they got together and like they're like, all right, we're doing this for Oberyn and blah blah blah, just like Oberyn is our whatever. Like they're just being dumb, and they kind of like cover their faces. But it's like, okay, there's 3 hot bitches, one with the whip, one with like that spear thing, and the other one with what, daggers, I think.
Daggers.
And then your mother was the wife of the brother of
the paramour.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
come on.
how many other 3 like triple like people, like a trio hanging out with all different weapons that are hot as fuck and covering their faces? Like, oh, I wonder who that could be. Like, I don't know. I thought that was just so dumb.
No,
like,
and then even when they were fighting, it sucked. And then in the book, each one looks different. Like they don't look like they're primas. You know what I mean? One's like very light with like reddish pink hair. The other one is like I think brown. The other one has dark hair. One's real butch. And one's black. You know what I mean?
And they're not like this. They're not this daughter of the
Oberyn?
No, they're daughters of Oberyn, but they're not daughter of the other lady,
only
right?
one is.
Yeah.
And in the book, she's fucking terrified. Like what's her name? The paramour bitch. She's terrified of the Lannisters. She's like, fuck this. We're not gonna get revenge. I just want to stay inside of Sunspear. I don't want any more problems. It's the girls that want to avenge.
But in the show, she's just like
Psycho.
revenge, and she even tells Oberyn's brother, I forget his name, because he's so like this.
Doran
from Dorne. Fuck, that's fucking dumb. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Anyways, and she's like we need to have revenge, and he's like, no, he died in a trial by combat. Like it's not murder, because he chose to fight.
Yep.
The gods decided.
Yeah, and he's like being diplomatic, and like he's like, okay, but she's like, no, we need to seek revenge, and it's just how dumb. Like this little cell is gonna bring down the Lannisters by taking Marcella.
For
like,
real,
like
man.
What do you
so
expect?
weak.
What do you think is gonna happen? Like you're gonna kill Marcella, and then the Lannisters are gonna come in and wipe you the fuck out. Like
Cersei's already pissed that Marcella's not with her.
Yeah, she's not thinking.
So-
She's not thinking straight. She's just thinking about revenge. And
I just like who they picked for Prince Doran because I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and that's Dr. Bashir. Go Bashir. So I'm like, yes. But
He's a huge actor, and they totally underutilized him.
yes, he's fantastic, right?
He's an amazing actor, yeah.
And he's even like Indian Arab or something, so he looked the part. Like he was perfect for Prince Duran, and then he was just not used. And Hotar, horrible casting. I mean, I'm not against like picking people of different races, but his bodyguard is a big, bearded, pink skinned, red haired dude with a giant axe, not a halberd. And he fights super cool. And then for him just to be stupid in the show.
Yeah, it was
whatever.
horrible.
Yeah, he looked a little too old to be protecting the ruler from the land. And I like when they stopped the fight between the Sand Snakes and Bronn and Jaime, and he kind of like does the swing of that. I want to say it's an axe, but it's a
halberd.
It's a halberd. Like he does a swing it like right on Jaime's neck. Is like if you were a whole, it would have been a great battle.
Oh yeah, because his people, they marry their axe, like those men, they marry their axe.
Oh shit!
So they're like the best fucking dudes.
They take the meaning of stick up your ass pretty literally.
They do. They do.
And then Peter Baelish goes back to King's Landing
On a jetpack.
On a jetpack, and he flew first class on the Thunderbird. Anyways,
he took a dragon. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, who knows?
Dragon Air.
Dude, Cersei even says like Winterfell's 1,000 miles away, and he got there overnight. It's like, okay.
Yeah, because she calls for him, and he gets to King's Landing, and then that's when he's confronted by Lancel, and they're just like, yeah, just don't be thinking you're welcome here anymore, or like it's changed. The city has changed. And Peter Baelish kind of tells us like, yeah, and it's gonna change again and again. Like he just kind of like dismisses them, like he doesn't seem afraid of them. And then he talks to Cersei, and he kind of questions him like, "Wow, who are you loyal to?" And of course, Peter Baelish is like, "Oh, I'm loyal to the crown." And he kind of informs Cersei that the Boltons have Sansa. Like he's like, "I found Sansa, the Boltons have her, and they're gonna marry."
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Boltons made a deal with Tywin, and then they kind of, now that Tywin's dead, the Boltons kind of feel like they have no protection from the Lannisters, and now that they have Sansa, they can marry Sansa and like strengthen their house. And so Cersei's pissed off because like, oh, like fuck them, like they shouldn't have done that, like, and we all know that it's Littlefinger that orchestrated this whole thing.
Yeah, because he advises Cersei to wait until Stannis and the Boltons kill each other off, and then the Vale will storm in and take over the North as long as he can become the Warden of the North. And I was like, this motherfucker's so good.
Yeah,
I hate him.
He probably does have a fucking jetpack. Who the fuck knows?
Or he has the latest Bravosi technology, like a diesel engine boat or something.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Arr."
But yeah, we kind of see Littlefinger's like, just work being done, and because we always see like in the background, this one's like so in your face. I was like, oh fuck, like he's the one that offered Sansa to the Boltons, and now he's telling Cersei like, hey, I found her, but she's getting married, you know, like let me take care of it, like I'll help you.
And you can foresee that if the so Sansa's safe whether she's with the Boltons or not, because they need Sansa for the North to claim the North. So if Stannis and the Boltons kill each other, the Boltons are going to get weak because Stannis' army is like falling apart. He can come in with the Vale, take over, marry Sansa, lock the Vale and the North to himself.
Yep.
And it's big.
Without needing
with winter
Cersei.
coming.
Yeah.
So no
and
one
it's
can invade.
big swaths of land. It's not just like it's.
It'd be
it's
bigger
huge.
than the rest of the kingdom. Yep.
Yeah.
Insane.
And then with the High Sparrows and Cersei, she kind of gives them more power. Like she makes them the official heads of the religion at King's Landing now, instead of the High Septon, which is in jail now. So she arms them and gives them like authority, and they end up taking Loras Tyrell into custody for being like a homosexual basically. And it's just like, and they have like this trial or this inquest where they're like, oh, have you ever laid with another man? And he's like, no. And then they bring out Oliver, the guy that he was
Yeah.
in bed with when Marjorie came into the room, and he's just like, yeah, it happened, and sorry, excuse me. It's like, well, how would we know? Like, you're telling the truth. Like, oh, because he has a birthmark in the shape of Dorn, and he's just like, all right, that's pretty much all the evidence we need. And like, oh yeah, Marjorie was there too. Like, she saw us, and because they asked Marjorie, like, do you know if your brother is innocent? She's like, yeah. So she's taken into custody also for lying to them.
Mm-hmm.
Set her up for failure.
Yeah, and that was Cersei's plan all along, was to like get back at the Tyrells for whatever fucking reason, because Marjorie married Tommen, and she knows that she's gonna
She knows
take
that
over his
they're
mind.
trying to get her out, and she doesn't want to lose the throne. She doesn't want to lose power.
Yeah. And I just like you said, I hated the religion in this season.
Makes
I
the future
Olenna
representation.
was good in this season because it's like every time she tried to use her thorns, it didn't work. She's like, "Well, I have this argument. Sorry, we don't care." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and
you could
it's
see her frustration.
and it's evident when like Olenna comes to King's Landing, like back to King's Landing, and like she's with Cersei in her office, and Cersei's writing something, and she's like, "All right, come on, you can cut the act." Like, yeah, you're not writing anything.
I love that part. Like,
And then she's like, Cersei's like, "Oh, the Lady of Thorns or the Queen of Thorns, like the tart mouth Lady of Thorns," and she's like, and then Olenna's like, "Oh yeah, the tart."
the Tart of Queen's Landing.
Yeah.
King's Landing.
And she's
Queen's
like,
Landing might as well fucking be.
Oh, for real.
and she's like, "What the fuck did you just say?" Basically, and
Yeah.
and I was like, "You fucking heard me!" Like,
Yeah. And it's like, look how many years I've lived already, bitch. Like, you can kill me, but
My biggest problem was Tommen. He had the fucking army, and he didn't slaughter those 40 stupid sparrows to get his queen.
But then again, I think if he would have done that, like he would have started an uprising. Like Tommen is smart enough to know that he can't. I mean, he's scared, but I think he's also a little bit smart enough to know that he can't.
he's
do that.
young,
Tywin
scared,
would have done it.
And well, that's the thing. I think this goes back to Tywin saying, "Oh, he needs to be wise." So he just has so many different factors trying to influence him, and he's
True.
trying to just like, I don't want to fuck up. I'm really young, and he kind of got thrown into it. You
Yeah,
know?
Where's
'cause-
Sir Pounce?
What the fuck is he doing?
Someone took that cat out, and so he was lost ever since. I mean, also with the faith, they had like their own little birds. Like all the homeless and the beggars would report to them. So
Yeah.
they kind of had their own eyes and ears too.
And then, that kind of Cersei giving him the High Sparrow, like all this power, kind of backfired on her, because she also gets taken into custody because Lancel confesses to sleeping with Cersei and
Killing of Robert.
killing of Robert. So she goes to see Marjorie in her like imprisonment, and just kind of like goes and gloats and like brags, and then, hey, come here. You're also gonna go to jail. So bye bye.
Oh, and do you remember why they mentioned they didn't have a weapon? Like they weren't armed before, like the Faith militant, because when the Targaryens took power, and it was the third king, Maegor the Cruel. Well, the religion did a revolution against the Targaryens because the Targaryens would marry brother to sister, and they were elitist. They even wrote a law saying it's okay for us to marry brother and sister, but none of you can. So the
Jesus
Faith
Christ.
militant attacked, but they had dragons and they killed everybody. So Maegor the Cruel kind of pulled a Daenerys. Like he found all the sparrows and he killed them and like hung them and crucified them. So the church stopped having like armed troops. So by Cersei doing it again, it kind of opened up that whole like shitstorm.
Reopened
Reopened it.
it.
And then at Winterfell, Miranda kind of tries to intimidate Sansa about telling her about like the other mistress that he had that they kind of like hunted down with the dogs.
All the ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, and the like arrows and stuff. And Sansa's like, she says like, "Oh, I'm not afraid of him. He's not gonna hurt me." Blah blah. And then, do they get married before this, or does he rape
It's
her?
in the next episode.
Okay, but
Oh wait, no, it's in this episode. Sorry.
yeah. So she marries Ramsay under the Godswood, which is just so like a stab in the heart, I think, because that was a place where her dad would go, and And like, yes, it's the holy place of this land, but it's just like, I don't know.
And this is like another moment where like she's just been forced to do bad like against her own name and her own in that light. You know what I mean? Like it's just that
Poor
it's
Sansa.
fucked.
And then Ramsay takes her back to his chambers and forces Reek to watch.
You want to show Reek?
But what happens in the book? Isn't it worse in the book?
What?
Well, okay, I'm gonna get to that real quick because Ramsay forces
The
Reek
wedding
to
night.
watch.
Yeah. While he gets on.
While he
Sansa.
he rapes her basically.
Yeah.
Like they're not consummating the marriage. It's not consensual. Like he rapes her in front of Reek.
In the book, it's her friend, not Sansa. Like they think it's Sansa. It's a fake Sansa.
Okay, I keep hearing you say fake Sansa. What is fake Sansa?
Okay, well, in order to solidify the Boltons' claim on the North, Littlefinger sends a fake Sansa. Like, oh, this is Sansa Stark. Yeah, like
Great value.
yeah.
I can
great
maybe
val-
see that because she arrived with her hair dyed, right?
Well, yeah, but
in the show. But that's why I'm saying
And
like
Reek knows she's not real because she grew up with Sansa, and in his mind he's like Reek, it rhymes with squeak. Her eyes are brown, but Sansa's eyes are blue. You know what I mean? Like he's all freaking out, like fuck, what do I say? So they escape, like kind of like in the show, but it's a fake Sansa. Yeah, and he's like, open your legs, show me your cunt. Like he's telling that to do. Now I need you to get her ready for me, Reek. So he makes Reek eat her out, and then he rapes her. Like, it's horrible in the book, dude. Like, George R. Martin, like, I don't know what the fuck he reads, dude, but some of the stuff is morbid. But, yeah, Reek, like, cuts pieces off of her, rapes her. She's, like, in a corner under, like, 10 furs to hide. Like, she's all fucked up. Fuck. And I forget her name,
Sansa.
A fake Sansa.
Yeah, and then
but this is real Sansa in the show.
This is real Sansa. So, fake Sansa is still a virgin. I mean, I'm sorry, real Sansa in the book is a virgin still.
Okay.
And then in episode 7, continuing with Sansa and Reek, after that night, Reek comes in and gives Sansa food, and Sansa's just like I'm glad this happened to you.
Yeah, she's just like being
Like I'm glad you're Reek now, because she keeps calling him Theon, and he's like, no, it's not Theon, it's Reek, and he's like, oh well, I'm glad that happened to you. Like if I could do that right now, I would. Because you killed Bran and Rickon, and like they were your brothers, and he kind of like blurts out that he didn't kill them. Like he's like, no, it wasn't them, it was 2 farm boys. And then Sansa kind of gets this realization of like, oh, they're still alive, like, you know. So she has that moment of I don't want to say like just happiness for her brothers still being alive, but it's still
like a hope.
Yeah, it's still a serious situation. And then after John, at the wall, after John lives to Hardhome, Sam gives John a bag of dragon glass weapons and ran him to use against White Walkers. And then Sam and Kelly visit Master Aemon, and he's already falling ill, so he's dying. And they stay with him throughout the night until he passes away. And then Katie's attacked by Brothers of the Night's Watch because John's not there anymore. So they kind of go like, not crazy, but they just like don't go fuck anymore. Like John's not gonna do anything because he's not there, and he left with Wilding, so he doesn't care about us. Like,
yep.
And then Sam tries to protect her, but he just ends up getting beat up. But it does get him laid.
Oh yeah, with his clothes on.
Yeah, that's totally way to do it.
In Avata.
And even when they're doing it, he's like super uncomfortable, like
yeah. It's kind of like it's like bittersweet.
Oh, mommy.
It hurts. Yeah. Oh my.
And then Stannis' troops have made camp in a trap by a snowstorm, and Davos is like, "Hey man, we lost supplies, we lost horses in the storm. The sellswords, the storm crows have left, which is like 500 of them. So they're running low on men." And he's like, "No, we have to keep." And Davos is like, "We have to go back to Castle Black. We can't fight this." And Stannis is like, "No, we have to attack now, because if you don't attack now, it's gonna be years before we can attack again." And so Stannis asks Melisandre like if he's sure of his victory, and Melisandre assures him that he saw a vision of Stannis winning. But she has to sacrifice Shireen in order for that to happen. And Stan is disgusted and refuses and dismisses Melisandre. So he's like, Melisandre's like, if we sacrifice Shireen, you're gonna win. And Stan's like, no, we can't do that. This is like the first time where her visions and her like magic doesn't have a hold on him, because back then, I'm pretty sure back then he would have if it was somebody else, he would have done it. Like he would have sacrificed whatever. But like we said a while earlier, like he does have a love for Shireen, even though he doesn't show it as often.
In the book, in his will, Stannis, Shireen is his heir. Like he wouldn't have sacrificed her in the book. Like just throwing that out there.
And then last episode, Jorah and Tyrion were captured by slave traders, and
Oh, that's right.
Jorah, they kind of take Jorah as a fighter because he's like oh, well, Tyrion says, I'm like, hey, this guy's a great fighter. Like he's earning money in the fighting pits in Marine, and
Because if not, they're fucked. I mean, they have to get out of that shit somehow. So
yeah, and the guy's like, oh, this guy's old. Like, what is he gonna do for me? And Tyrion's like, no, like he's
did he say he killed the Dothraki, or he killed some?
Yeah, he's like, oh,
Just
they
to
sing
prove
songs
it.
about him, and then Jorah's like, I've killed a Dothraki rider. And the guy's like, all right, I'll give you a chance. And then also like before that, they're like, what do you do? What do we do with the imp? It's like, oh, kill him. It's like, take his cock and kill him.
Yeah,
like, I'll send
it's
him to
Lucky or something. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
a cock merchant.
A dwarf's cock is lucky.
Yeah, a dwarf's cock is lucky.
It's like, oh, how would they know that it's a dwarf's cock? It's like, cause it's dwarf's sized cock. It's like, no, you'll be wrong.
Yeah, you'll be wrong.
And then and then he's like, all right, keep the imp alive or the dwarf alive until we find a cock merchant.
Yeah, a cock merchant.
He's like, how would they know if you didn't see it on the imp?
But then they kind of convince him to go
He's like,
to
yeah,
the
to
fighting
take me
pits.
too. Yeah. Take him with Ser Jorah.
And in the books and Essos, there's all these weird like things you do with dwarves. Like you have to like rub them on the head or like push them or like tell them shit. So Tyrion's always getting like touched and pinched, and it's funny, yeah.
So then he sold to Yazan, or what is that name? Yazan, to fight a Marine, and they fight in front of Daenerys, and then he fights his way through a bunch of people, like in disguise, and then he kind of reveals himself, and Daenerys is like, what? And then that's when
out of my sight.
And that's where he brings out Tyrion. He's like, I brought you a gift, because this episode is called The Gift, and that's Tyrion to Daenerys. Which I don't know what he thinks he's gonna use Tyrion for, because right now at this point, like he's a traitor and Tyrion's a Lannister. Like
Yeah, so he's probably thinking that, you know what, I have something to bargain with. He can be like one of the chips in the game. But it turns out fucking Tyrion is fucking up his own family too. So.
And then in Dorne, Myrcella is brought to speak with Jaime and asks why he came back to take her to King's Landing, and that she wants to stay and marry Tristan. But in the cells, Bronn is taunted by Tyrene Sand, exposing her breast to him, because she cut him with a dagger when they were fighting, and I guess the dagger had a poison in him that's only activated when his heart rate increases. So she's trying to turn him on, and
To kill him.
Which is, I don't know if I like that. Like, that's a stupid plot point, because it's like reverse Crank.
Well, it's like
Reverse crank.
well, she gives him a little blue pill, and it's like a boner eliminator. Like, so she's like, oh yeah, he gets all turned on, he starts to die, and she's like, well, I have this little blue pill, this little anti-Viagra, and she gives it to him, and it goes away.
I think it was like a little, it was the antidote that she only gave to him after he called her the most beautiful woman alive. So it's just like, is that
These
how?
chicks don't know what the fuck to do.
I think only one of them's pretty, and it's her. The rest are not pretty, especially the whale bitch.
So fucking nasty, dude. I fucking hate them.
And then in King's Landing, in the Sept of Baelor, Orlando meets with the High Sparrow to discuss the imprisonment of her two grandchildren, Loras and Marjorie. And she kind of tells him, like, hey, I'll give you money, like, you know. And he's just like, why would I need that? And so she kind of figures like, okay, this guy's means business. Like, I'm not gonna be able to bribe him or anything. And she's like, and Olena's like, okay, well, how are you gonna feel? We just stopped the shipment of food to King's Landing, and the High Sparrow's like, well, I mean, the people are gonna rebel against people that don't feed them, and so she kind of figures like she has no way to do her.
No leverage.
Yeah, she has no leverage over him, so she can't use her words to get them free, and like threats, like they don't give a fuck. They already, like, to them, they already lost everything. So like they're just gonna rebel against them. Like the religion's gonna take over, and it's gonna take over the richest people. Like it's the power of the people, basically. And that's when Peter meets with Elena after that, and they share a tense conversation. Elena reminds Peter of the role they both played in Joffrey's murder, and warns that should her house fall, she wouldn't keep his involvement a secret. So now we kind of know that Elena had a hand in Joffrey's murder, because she tells because there was an episode before that Marjorie was like, "What have you done?" When she shows her like the necklace with the empty vial on it. And Olena's like, "Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, dear."
So now we have.
I was gonna let you marry that monster.
Yeah. So now we have like, an inkling that Olena had a hand in Joffrey's death.
And then the what is it? The young handsome boy or whatever. That's the comment. That's so Lancel can do his thing against Cersei, right?
Yeah, because Lancel confesses to having a relationship with Cersei, and that's when Cersei meets with High Sparrow, and after a brief discussion on Marjorie and Loras, he is revealed that her cousin Lancel has informed against her and her illicit relationship, as they also had a part in the death of Robert Baratheon. And then Cersei tries to leave, but she's stopped by the tall Septa, which is like a tall ass nun. Confess.
Oh no, shame.
And she's also imprisoned. And Cersei, I like Cersei's just like strong characters. Like, she tells the Septa to look her in the face and warns that it'll be the last thing she sees before she dies. So she's like already fucking pissed off. Like, Cersei's just like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill you if you fucking imprison me.
Before we get out of this episode, the episode was obviously called The Gift, and like the gifts is like the theme throughout the episode. So like Sam gifts the dragon glass to Jon. Jon gifts the Night's Watch to Alistair. Alistair gives some advice to Jon, letting him know he's making a mistake, and then Jon says like, I respect your honesty. Ramsay gives bruises to Sansa. Melisandre wants Stannis to give a gift to the gods, so sacrificing Shireen. Gilly gives Sam her whispering eye. Tyrion is gifted his life when they say, "Oh, okay, we'll keep him alive for another."
The Stoneman gift Jorah grayscale.
Bronn gets the antidote for his poisoning, the little blue pill. Littlefinger gifts Olenna a handsome young man. Jorah gifts Tyrion to Daenerys. And the fans get gifted Cersei in jail, which is something we wanted for the longest fucking time, for her to actually have to suffer. So I loved all of those themes throughout the entire episode. It's pretty cool.
And episode 8 with Cersei in jail, the tall Septa is called Septa Olenna, I think. Ooh, yeah, right.
It's just Yulena.
Yulena. It's just fucking inflections of words I gave.
Sorry.
And it's just like the constant theme of confess, and just, you want some water, you have to confess. And I like how like slowly Cersei's like
being broken down.
She's being broken down, because you see her teeth start to yellow and her lips start to crack because she's so dehydrated, and she drops the Septa drops the water on the floor after she doesn't confess, and she's just like forced to drink the water, like suck the water off.
From the fucking floor.
From the floor.
Very ungodly, huh?
And then Qyburn comes to visit her in the cell and tells her that Uncle Kevin came from Castle Rock to serve as Hand the King, and he tells her like he tells her that Tommen is just in distress. Like he doesn't eat. He's just locked in his room, and he's depressed because his mom and his wife are both imprisoned. And Cersei kind of implores him to have Tommen come talk to her, and he's like, I tried. He just doesn't. And
I like the way they set this up because it shows how Tommen, the two women he loves, are like tearing him apart. So that's an interesting build up.
Yeah, and then in Bravo's, Arya assumes the identity of Lana, a oyster seller.
Oysters, clams, and cockles.
Oh my god, I didn't like that.
I think
I loved it.
It annoyed me the fuck out of me.
I think this season had a bunch of like those phrases like oyster comes and cockles, and then shame and confess and for the watch. Like it's just little phrases that you could just repeat.
And oh my.
Fucking Sam. And then
I loved it. Arya was having fun with the Game of Faces.
Yeah.
But I think we can all agree that oysters with vanilla is pretty fucking disgusting.
Oh, I know. I was like
with vinegar.
Vanilla.
No, it was vinegar.
Yeah, it was
No,
vinegar.
he asked for vanilla in one of the times. Oh, give me one of them oysters with vanilla in it.
Ugh.
Yeah, so
I
she
just
pours
oysters
a
Are
little-
you sure?
It's always
Because
just
I had the captions turned on and it said vinegar.
Oh, I thought it was...
No, but he says vanilla one of the time. It's vinegar, and then one time he says it was vanilla.
Okay, I don't know.
Sick.
Anyways, but she uses this identity of Lana to go find a thin man, which is an insurance salesman, and Jackins kind of tells her like, okay, like I want you to take him out, like, and so she uses that. She uses that like as her first test of faceless manness. I don't know. And then at the wall, Giddy treats Sam's wounds before Ollie asks for a word with Sam in private. And this is where Sam fucks up again, like unintentionally, because he tells him, because during the battle of Castle Black with the wildlings, he tells him like pick up a weapon and fight, and he ends up killing Ygritte.
Yeah.
And then Sam's like telling Ollie like sometimes you have to do things that seem wrong but are right in the long run.
Again with Ollie,
and
horrible parent.
And he's like, you think so? He's like, yeah. And like he's talking about John like going to go get the wildlings, and Ollie's thinking it in the way is like, oh, I can't.
Of what these other fuckers are probably telling him, that we don't know about.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, okay, thanks, Sam.
Yeah, he just pushes him towards that direction where it's like, oh, go ahead and do it.
Fuck
but
over
it's the
John,
wrong
basically.
thing. Yeah.
And in the book during this whole time, Melisandre like pops out. She's like, "Watch out for daggers in the dark." And then she'll like come back like, "Don't leave ghosts behind. Keep them with you." And John's like, "Get away from me, you redhead bitch! You're not Ygritte. She was kissed by fire too. Give me that pussy." You know what I mean? Like he was like
Jesus
fighting himself around her.
Oh, okay. And then I messed up from last episode when I was talking about like how Reek tells Sansa about not killing her brothers. That was when she gets word to put a candle on the tower to get rescued, and then Reek tells Ramsay about it, and he beats up Sansa. Yeah. In this episode that's when Reek tells Sansa that her brothers are still alive, and then we have battle plans by Roose Bolton and his advisors for the battle with Stannis' army, and Roose plans to just bunker down in Winterfell and that Stannis kind of run out of supplies first. But Ramsay is like, no, we should just take the fight to Stannis, and like I already need 20 good men, and that's when
they butcher the horses, right? Or something.
Yeah.
And okay. I'll get to it later in that part, but I'm like, at first I didn't understand Stannis's military decisions, but after rewatching it, I'm like, he didn't give a fuck anymore. Like he knew he wasn't gonna win.
Yeah, everything was. He was just losing. He was losing
just turned
everything.
to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in Marine, Jon and Jorah and Tyrion are brought before Daenerys, and who asked Tyrion why he should allow to be allowed to live and serve her. And Tyrion explains that he understands how politics works in King's Landing, and he needs her if she's gonna take over the Westeros. Like you don't know how the politics are there. I know how the politics is. I know whose houses are strong, whose houses are weak.
Yeah.
Who you can align with yourself with, and so she puts Tyrion to a test. Like, what should I do with Jorah? Like,
I hated that part.
And Tyrion was basically like, well, you said you were going to kill him if he came back, but we can't kill him because he's devoted to you. And if you kill people that are devoted to you, like, you won't have people that are devoted to you anymore. And it's like, so you have to exile him again.
See, I didn't like that whole yo-yo thing with Jorah. It's like, leave, get him away from me. I can't stand his face. I'm like, okay, bitch, we get it. Yeah.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
So sorry, like when Daenerys and Tyrion are like speaking, and she asks Tyrion, "Well, advise me what to do with Jorah." How did you all feel about that scene? Did you think that the scene was filmed through Tyrion's eyes? Because this is like the first time we ever see like Daenerys look very intimidating when she's sitting up there just looking down at them like.
I mean, everybody was at
like,
Tyrion.
Yeah, but I mean, it felt like a different tone because it felt like it was coming from a different angle instead of.
I felt like from Jorah's point of view.
From Jorah?
That's what it felt for me because it was kind of like, he was like, Khaleesi, he's like, leave.
Well, I thought it was in Tyrion's because I feel like it was a test from Daenerys to Tyrion. Like, to see what kind of person he was. Like, if he tells them, yeah, you said you were going to kill him, so kill him. Like, you know.
But also, I'm sure somewhere inside of Daenerys, she's like, he has a point. He has been in Westeros all of his life. He knows that he's a part of the Lannister family, and they don't fucking like him. And you know what I mean? I think she's like, you know what? He's gonna be vital in my plan.
And I think where Tyrion failed too is like he didn't explain why Jorah was so obsessed with her when he tells Tyrion like, "Hey, I saw the dragons born. Like, she walked out of a fire. Like, why do you not think I'm devoted to her?"
Well, Tyrion does tell Daenerys, like, I think he's in love with you. Like,
well, see, and it felt kind of underhanded. Like,
yeah.
Like Tyrion was just being a little like he didn't want any rivals.
And you could also see Daenerys. I think it was also Daenerys like legitimately not knowing what to do because you could see the hurt in her eyes, like in her face, when she's sending Jorah away again. Like every time Jorah shows up, like she gets like incredibly sad because.
It's like most women when they're like the good guy likes her, she's like, no, he's horrible. And when there's a horrible guy for her, she's in love. That's what she did.
Maybe.
I'm just being a dick.
And then I like the little conversation that Daenerys and Tyrion have after that. They're sitting down having wine, and she's just like, "So what should I do with you? Should like, oh, how can you help me?" Like, and they talk about like. And then Tyrion tries to convince her like just stay in Marine, like you have what you wanted Westeros here, and Daenerys is like, I'm gonna do both, like, and then that's when she mentions that she's not gonna stop the wheel, she's gonna break the wheel of all the houses.
And this is where for me the writing turns to shit because it's not Game of Thrones writing like oh smash the wheel. No, you won't. Then you wouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. A part of me just got mad when I heard that part. I'm like, cállate, Sansa.
Yeah,
and
like
then don't put your sigil. Don't be Targaryen. Then
you said you want because they want to break the wheel of the houses, like taking turns being the rulers of the land, but you want to take over Westeros as your house with your house name
exactly.
And then after that, what? Like, is it just gonna be you? So it's not gonna be like a revolving like thing. It's just gonna be one dictatorship, basically.
Yeah.
Like, so
Which
yeah,
kind of it's stupid because she can't have kids, so she has no heirs. So
she has fucking dragons, bro. That's all she needs.
But who's
fucking King Dragon?
They can't run this.
I think maybe later on she's gonna meet that guy. What's it called? Dilly. They'll probably have kids with him.
Sir Dilly.
Fuck you guys.
Anyways, and then Jorah goes back to Hazan and to be like, "Hey, you said the winner of the fight of the battle or the fighting pits gets to fight in front of Dany. Like, let me fight for you." So Jorah again is finding his way back to Daenerys, and then we get to the best fucking part of this whole season is Hardhome.
Yep.
First of all, before I get into it, what was your impressions of the whole Hardhome thing, this scene?
Oh yeah, that whole fucking thing, just seeing the dead, like, just they're not stopping. They're fucking dead. They have what are they going to lose for? Just understanding what power they do have, the Night King and all, and that army, what they actually have.
It freaks me out because they're doing headshots on these things and they're not going down.
No.
It's not typical zombie shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
have to be black.
okay. I just had to say my impression was that it was fantastic to see that shit, but to see like John's, you can see it in John's eyes. He's like, this is some fucked up shit. Like you can see him just like overwhelmed.
He was scared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fucking overwhelming as shit. It was crazy.
Okay. By Hardhome, they get to Hardhome, and it's John, Tormund, and a group of the Night's Watch brothers, and they meet the Lord of Bones, which is now the new king of the Wildlings. And Tormund's like, I have no time for you. Like, you're fucking... Like, he just kills them right then and then. Like, I have no time for you. Gather the fucking elders. We need to talk about this now.
That's right.
And then he tells them how Sam killed a White Walker. Or John shows him the dragon glass and like, my brother Sam used this to kill the White Walker. And they tells him like, we move you south of the wall so you guys can have land there. And then they ask what happened to Mance Rayder, and John confesses like, I killed him. But
Tormund defends him. He's like, yeah, but
he did it for
Yeah.
he did it for a good cause, like, you know.
you weren't there.
And then that's where he smacks up the Lord of Bones, right? The dude in the bone armor. Remember Tormund's like just smashing him?
I think that was before they get.
Was that before?
Yeah, before they get to the elders.
Yeah, that's where he says, gather the elders. We need to speak now. Like he was just like a waste of time. Like he just get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
And then he convinces some of the Wildlings to go with him south of the wall, and there's a group of Thans that are just like, no, we're not gonna go.
Yeah.
And then that's when they're loading everybody in the ships, and they just hear like, what is like the sound stops, right? Like
avalanche. It
Yeah.
sounds like an avalanche.
Yeah.
The way that you see the storm come in.
Yeah, that's as they're
Like,
getting
it
on
pours
boats to get
in.
onto the ships.
Yeah.
You just see like a fog, like a mist, and it's just like what the.
and then you see the fucking like whites just try to break into the walls, and they're just like throwing themselves
Relentless.
at the wall. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they're
It's
just
fucked up
it's
because
a
they
horde.
lock out more than half of the population on the other
That's
side.
right. Yeah.
and then they
And-
become parts of
and
the.
from my it was like a two front attack, wasn't it? Like here was Hardhome. They were attacking from one gate, and then the White Walkers were on a ridge on the other.
Yeah, and they were dropping down.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then more did come from up there. They were just falling like.
And I love the way they're so still. Like the White Walkers, they're just like they don't move.
Yeah,
like,
they're
no
silent.
breathing.
They're creepy, dude.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
fucking. They're just menacing. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, and then they get attacked inside the hut that they were talking in, and
With the giant in the fucking corner.
yeah,
You know?
and they're fighting, and like his one of his doesn't like one guy try to swing a sword at the White Walker, and his sword just fucking breaks.
Mm-hmm.
That was fucking dope. And then John can't get to the dragon glass, so he's outside fighting with his sword,
Iron Claw.
Iron Claw.
Long claw.
Long Claw. I'm sorry.
Or it's always Iron Claw
Yes,
or Long
Long
Claw.
Claw.
And then we see him. Doesn't he kill a White Walker with his sword?
Yeah,
Like he
like they're
stabs.
fighting.
Yeah.
And then first Jon Snow blocks his sword, and he's like, "What?"
It's not
And
breaking.
then
Yeah.
he swings
Yes.
and shatters the White Walker.
Yeah, because it was so cool that they showed like the sword like breaking when he tries to block or parry the thing, and then like when he does it, like they both look at each other like, Did you see that?
Yeah.
And for book readers, that was like the cum shot because, like, sorry, the whole book series, like, it was always hinted Valyrian still could kill the White Walker. So actually seeing it, we're like,
No, yeah, that happened to me with my girl. Like as soon as he blocked and it stopped, I looked at her and she was like, and then the next thing is him fucking shattering the one of the White Walkers, and we were just like, holy shit! I was like, remember it's Valyrian steel, and she's like, oh yeah, oh god.
And in that episode, Sam says like, he's like, well, how many Valyrian steel weapons are there? Oh, is that later?
yeah, how many?
Fuck my
no,
life.
just say it.
Yeah, he says like, well, how many Valyrian steel weapons are there? And I started thinking, oh fuck, there's the dagger. There's
It's like 12.
There's like
Oathkeeper.
12. Oathkeeper, Whittle's Will, and I was like, okay, all these heroes are not heroes. but
Heart
people have
Eater,
them.
right?
I don't know about that one. So yeah, like the Valyrian steel swords thing was like, oh fuck, because like, dude, Jon's getting his ass kicked, like hardcore.
Yes.
He gets hit in the chest off a 2-story building by the hilt of the staff, and I'm like, this guy's so screwed. He's trying to get the dragon glass, and then he decides, oh fuck this, I'm gonna run out of here. And then that moment, like you said, it was like the money shot, and I was like, oh fuck. And I remember being in California watching it because like I had seen Manuel, and I'm like, dude. Episode starts in 5 minutes. He's like, yeah, I'm going to my room. I'm like, cool. So we left, and we came back and oh my god, oh my god.
It was so
like
funny.
the coolest fucking
It was
thing.
so funny.
And then they kind of get overrun, and then they get to the boats. And do they not cross water or whatever? Because they just the whites and the Night King just stop at the edge of the water, and they're just like staring each other down. And I love the
Yeah,
fucking.
because it's animated. It's necromancy, right? So they're not gonna like swim or make a boat. You're like they'll just walk to the bottom of the ocean. So
it would take time, right?
yeah.
I mean,
So it would be kind of useless. You know what I mean? So they would have to go through the wall because I think that's why the wall was built. They can't, not that they can't walk on water, but they just don't. Like it's just
So they should just build a moat.
yeah.
Or maybe what I'm thinking, like how when you see the fog coming in, they bring the cold with them and all
Right.
that shit. Maybe
And you
they
can't freeze
the water.
seawater. You can't freeze seawater because of all the salt.
Oh.
So maybe the seawater is like a anti
Okay,
White
okay.
Walker shit.
Yeah, so that happens. They escape. They're on the boats going back, and they're just like, I think John feels a little bit of comfort, like fuck, I made it out, and then he just
He's like, come at me, bro.
he fucking raises his hands, and the ones that were the wildlings that were just killed and everything, they just
all reanimate, and their
Fuck.
army just got 2 times bigger.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like John's face there is just like,
And John,
oh,
that's
fuck.
what John's like. That's what I was exactly trying not to do.
Yeah.
Like you dumbasses.
But can I talk about this one character? I don't know her name, but
Oh yeah.
it's the mom in the beginning, and she's
The
like,
wildling chief.
yeah, she's like, oh, here, take my sons or whatever, like go with whoever the fuck, and then like the horde comes in and she's fighting, and then she sees a whole bunch of little kid whites, and she can't fight them.
Yeah.
Like she just can't. And,
don't have kids.
And she just like crosses her arms and like lets them like fucking kill her.
And then, don't you see her eye change like at the end? Like you see her reanimate.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
But yeah, I think that was the best part of this whole season.
And I was freaking out because I'm like, oh fuck. Because like 1-1, the giant is like running and he's just getting bombarded. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna kill this giant and they're gonna have a fucking giant, like a white giant. I'm like, oh shit. And then he gets away and I was like, all right, God, I can breathe now.
Okay, I remember last season we talked about like those 2 giants that fought at the wall, but they were the last of their kind. So is this a different species of giant, or was he like a?
Mag the Mighty was the last royal
Okay.
giant. Like he was like the king of the giants.
So there's still
lion.
other giants,
Well,
but not
one
the
was
royal.
the last. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now he's the last.
Okay,
Shit.
okay.
Yeah.
He's fucking dope.
Yeah, he's a
He's
beast.
cool, and he's named after a football player that wore 11, 1-1.
Whoa.
It was some big football, like because George R. R. Martin's a huge football fanatic.
Oh shit.
So like he was named after some.
It's so funny how it's just like random like real life tidbits. You're like,
Yeah, what inspires one to
Uh-huh.
put
Yeah.
their creativity
Because
into
he
something.
kind of got the whole game of houses from football. Like, you know how, like, you have, like, the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
that's how he kind of did, like, the Lion Lannisters and all that.
Oh.
Yeah. And jousting is like a football game.
Episode 9. We're almost done with this fucking season. In Bravo's, Arya, still under the disguise of an oyster vendor, continues her mission given to her by Dragon to poison the Thin Man. Because this guy that wants to they want her to kill him, and she kind of goes and gives him the oysters, and then Dragon gives him the poison, and that's when that's when she sees Marion Trent like coming
Oh,
unboarding a boat.
Yeah.
Too
and
old.
she just gets distracted like hard, and like she can't think of anything else but him. And the Thin Man's like, "Hey girl, like oysters, like, you know," it's like, "Are you death?" And so she kind of like follows him to the Iron Bank, and then after he gets out of the Iron Bank, she follows him to a brothel.
Yeah.
And that's when we learn that Marion Trent is a piece of shit more.
Oh, yeah.
Because he likes little girls.
Too old.
Yeah, and all the girls that the brothel owner or the lady there was showing Marion Trent in the beginning were all a solid 10 until they turned 10.
God.
So then the next night, Arya takes a face from the Hall of Faces and disguises herself as a little girl to get into the room with Marion Trent. And that whole scene was fucking like crazy because he has the little switch and he's just beating the girls with it. and then he gets to Arya, and
Who's used to being smacked.
Well, a person you still don't know yet. It's not uncovered. It's just
it's the face of the little girl that dies that she gives the water to, right?
oh shit, yeah. Well, he smacks her and she's just fucking nothing. She's not moved by it.
yeah.
She's like, this ain't no S&M. You know where I've been? Shit.
And then he gets smacked, and she's just like, no reaction. And he's like, oh, I think I have my work cut out for me.
He tells all the girls leave or whatever. Right.
And that's when Arya takes off her fucking mask and is just like, it's me, bitch.
Yeah.
And stabs him in the eye.
It's one of the ugliest murders I've seen in the show.
It was good.
I mean, it's good. I mean, it's just very brutal.
Yeah.
Well, she takes both his eyes, and then like she's on top of him, and she's just like fucking rapidly stabbing his chest, and it's just like crazy how
And he's
fast.
just fucking whimpering, as he should.
Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?
But then again, like I love how when you're dying, especially when somebody's like about to die, they want mercy or whatever. Like Maren Trant never said anything. Like she's like, "Do you remember who I am?" And he can't respond, obviously because he's been stabbed a bunch of times. And I was thinking like, okay, maybe when she's like, "You killed my master. You killed
Syria Farrell.
Serial Pharrell," and he doesn't say anything. I'm like, wait a second, maybe Serial Pharrell isn't dead. Like maybe he couldn't do it.
But now looking back at it, I think he just couldn't respond to anything. Like,
Yeah,
Who knows?
I don't know.
But-
I still feel like Serial Pharrell.
Everybody wants him alive.
because he's so cool. Like, he's just
Yeah.
a.
I would like in the last season, he was like, "Hey guys," he just the whole time you were like,
Gets an arrow through the chest, and it's fucking Ollie just there.
God.
he's like,
Got him, guys.
Where's John? Yeah. He's like,
That kid with the fist thing.
And then she goes back to the house of the black and white, and puts the face back on the wall and smiling, thinking she did a great job on her kill. And that's when she's confronted by Jack and Hagar and the waif. And it's like, I told you she's not ready. And he's just like, yeah, you took a life. You took a life from the many-faced god. Now he's owed one. And Jack and Hagar takes the poison that was meant for the Thin Man. And he just fucking dies. And it's just like, I hated this whole scene because it was just like a whole bunch of like trickery. And it's like,
yeah.
It was stupid.
his body falls, and then Arya starts crying. It's like, no, like why? And then the wife's like, why are you crying? Because he was my friend. It's like, no, he wasn't.
He was no one.
And then he turns into Jack and Hagar, but still wearing the wife's like dress. It's just so funny.
It's like every drag queen's dream, like just to instantly change, right?
He's just like, oh.
so does that mean the waif is dead too? Everybody there has a different face. Don't they?
Well, I mean, what I disliked was she was pulling off face after face when you can only wear one face.
Yeah.
So-
Oh no, and then the other thing is that she also pulls off the face and she sees herself.
Yeah, so it's like,
So now that I think about that, now I've been thinking about.
I mean, why not, right?
Yeah,
Shit.
because if she's doing that, she sees herself. So maybe you don't have to die to wear somebody's face. So I can see now.
But
now
you're
I'm
supposed
fucked.
to, but they just threw all the rules out the window.
Yeah,
you can wear 7 faces, sure, why not?
Like that scene was just for the sake of like, I'm fucking with your mind.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
type
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know
Because
what I
she
mean?
does the whole like, if you're here, then who is? And then she starts
Who
putting.
am I? We are no one. And it's always us.
So and then so that causes Arya to go blind, and the whole like, what's happening? I can't see. And then she goes blind, and I combined episode 9 and 10 with Arya because I was going to finish that thing. So we end the season with Arya being blinded.
Yep.
Or her storyline at least. And then in episode 9, we get to the wall with Jon and Tormund. They return to Castle Black, accompanied by the surviving Night's Watch and the wildlings from Hardhome. And Alistair, despite his disagreements with Jon, orders the gate to be open and let them pass. Jon feels like the mission was a failure. And then Sam points out, like, no, you saved thousands of wildlings that could have been killed by White Walkers. And now the brothers of Night's Watch are angry because the wildlings are there now. And it's just like, bro, if you would have seen what I fucking saw, you would have been like, yeah, get everybody here, like now. But it's always that fucking pride thing, or like just grudges being held, like.
And in this,
You've been
it's
killing wildlings
throughout the
for
series, you
hundreds of
realize
years.
it's always that. Like if you just saw what I saw, and it's not,
Yeah.
seeing is believing.
I mean, they can jetpack everywhere, but they can't take a few minutes to look for a White Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in Dorne, Jaime is brought before Doran Martell to explain his actions because Jaime went to a rescue mission, without his authority, because they're great houses, so you just can't infiltrate their thing and try to take away his son's intended. And then they realized that the Illyria was the threat from Dorne, that they got the little vipers on the necklace, and Doran negotiates a deal with Jaime in return. Jaime's freedom, Marcella will return to King's Landing with the Lannisters, but Marcella just staying to accompany them as Oberyn's replacement on a small council. So he's using this opportunity. Doran is using this opportunity to still be nice with the Lannisters, but still have an influence on their politics.
Right, and Doran is a very patient. He plays the long game. He's like, I'm doing this so my great-grandchildren fuck your great-grandchildren, and 30 years from now, that's how he thinks. And
yeah.
They don't call him Long Dick Duran for nothing.
For real.
And then he tells Illyria to either pledge loyalty or be killed in front of the.
I want to kill her
in front of the Sand Snakes, and Illyria is like, all right, she begs for forgiveness and all that stuff, which we know next episode that it was a lie, and that's what I'm saying. The North has this whole prideful thing where they avoid lying as much as they can, and then the Southerners and everybody else is just I would just lie to get the way I don't want the thing that I want.
That's the city for you.
For real.
And then in the North we have Ramsay and his group of 20 men infiltrate Stannis' camps and set fire to supplies. With his supplies gone, Stannis realizes that his army would not survive the winter, and he sends Davos back to Castle Black to request more supplies and reinforcements. But we see that Shireen, Then we see that Shireen is sacrificed to the gods by Stannis, and they put her on the pyre and they burn her alive. And this is what's her name? What's her mom's name again?
Selyse.
Selyse. This whole.
She changes.
Yeah, she was always so disappointed and embarrassed of Shireen, and now that she's about to die, she's just
she's
my
always
baby.
Anything for the light of the Lord of the Light, or
well, not that. She's anything for the Lord of Lights of this.
Yeah.
Up until the actual point, though, she's for it, and then she's in that moment she's realizing. And then Stannis, you see his face too. He's just I fucked up.
Yeah.
He's I'm fucked.
Because he's already at his wit's end. He has to do something, and I think this is what he thinks he should do to guarantee victory in battle. But it also kind of gets his men to turn on him in the battles to come, because if he's gonna sacrifice his own kid, what makes you think he cares about us?
Right.
So that was part of his down.
You see everybody in his crew oh fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And they all leave right after they start abandoning him.
Yeah.
And then at the fighting pits, they have a battle when Jorah comes in and fights his way through and ends up winning the fight. And Jorah kind of looks so slow compared to the rest of the fighters, and this whole fight scene was so badly choreographed, I think.
Yes.
It was just so clumsy, and but then he ends up winning, and then he grabs a spear from the person that's impaled by it and throws it at Daenerys, and I was what the fuck? He's trying to kill her, but ends up hitting some of the harpy that was behind Daenerys, so was going to assassinate her, and that's when the whole crowd some of them just put on their fucking mask, and it's just an uprising of some of the harpy at this fighting pits. And I already thought the guy, his fiance or whatever, he was the guy that he was gonna marry.
So Lorak,
I always forget his name.
The dude.
I thought he was part of it too, but he ends up getting fucking stabbed by the Sons of Harpy. So I was oh shit, he wasn't part of it.
He
then.
was a collaborator, to them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like the part that second when Jorah and Dany touch hands. She gives him permission to rescue her. She's okay. Good for you, Jorah.
And then they end up being surrounded in the middle of the fighting pit by the Sons of the Harpy, and they're trying to fight their way out. But there's only like a few Unsullied and a few Dothraki against like dozens of the Sons of the Harpy. And then we see fucking Drogon come in and save the fucking day. And he just swoops in and burns people alive. And he's just like on the ground, like eating people, burning them alive. And then he gets pelted by fucking spears.
Which hurt me, dude. I was like, okay, so he's not full grown yet. I thought like, okay, he's full grown. Like, I thought like dragon scale was one of the hardest like things on Earth, and the fact that they were like actually piercing him, I'm like, okay, he's still vulnerable, and
Yeah.
he still has a way to go.
And I thought it was so funny how like Daenerys and Drogon share a moment where like he like roars at her, and like she's just standing there,
He
and like,
says, ouch.
and then she reaches out to grab like to touch him, and like it just takes forever. Like they're just fucking like they're like, and there's people around them fucking throwing spears, and just like, I mean, fucking get a move on. And then he
fucking get a move on.
and then he gets hit by a spear, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're in battle, I forgot. And then Daniel gets the bright idea to ride him, and they fly out of the fighting pits, which I don't know if you've seen his back is kind of scaly and like pointy, so I don't know.
I don't know where she sat.
Yeah, I don't know either.
She rode him.
And then just to finish Daenerys' storyline in this season, she ends up in a field, for like in a green field, because now they're in sand area. Now she ends up in a green field. I don't know where they end up.
It's supposed to be the Dothraki Sea, but
Okay.
it's very mountainous for the Dothraki Sea. But
And Drogon kind of leaves her there because he's gonna go feed, and she's walking around, and then she hears like the hoof, like the
tum.
yeah, and it's a Dothraki.
The stampede.
It's a Dothraki. Was it Khalasar?
A Khalasar.
A horde that surrounds her, and she does a smart thing of dropping her ring on the floor.
I fucking hated all of this.
Yeah.
I hated it. I'm like, oh great, now we have the Dothraki back. I'm like, that's fucking stupid.
Well, the book,
Like-
it happens kind of like that. But see, there's a prophecy in the books that connects later, because like the Dash Kalin, like, you know, like the ladies who they're
widows?
Yeah, the widows. They tell her a prophecy like in book 1. Like, and then you're going to make all of us bow to you. And you're like, how? Why would she ever go back? But the book ends when Daenerys gets taken by.
Yeah, because she hasn't had contact with the Dothraki other than the people that that stayed with her. So they kind of take her.
Yeah. And in the book, real quick, like the whole fighting pit scene, it's Daenerys just gets married to that dude. They have the fighting pits. Tyrion is still a slave. He has not met Daenerys. So they have him as part of the show. He's going to be a jousting dwarf against Penny, the girl that falls in love with him, right? The little midget girl. But then, because of all the killing, that's when Drogon lands. And he starts, like, killing everybody.
He smells the blood and is like,
Right. But there's no Sons of the Harpy that attack. Like, Drogon lands and starts killing everybody. So they attack Drogon. They try to kill him. And that's when Daenerys jumps on his back and flies away. So there's no, like, yeah.
And to round up season 10, we're going to... episode 10. We're going to... Wait, to wrap up season 5, we're going to start episode 10 in the north. Stannis Baratheon's camp conditions at Stannis Baratheon's camp dramatically improve, clearing the route towards Winterfell. And Melisandre takes credit as a result of Shireen's sacrifice. And he tells his men, like, get ready for a siege in the morning. And then one of his generals like, I don't think it's going to be a siege, my lord. And then they look over, and it's a fucking... the riders from Winterfell are coming to battle Stannis. And
on horseback.
See,
horseback.
where the fuck did they get all these troops? Sorry. But I don't know.
The
The
Boltons?
Boltons had so many.
Oh.
Yeah, and then he just looks at, like, he's just looking at them like, fuck, really?
And Stannis wouldn't have attacked that horse. I'm sorry. Like, it's too smart.
Yeah, and...
But then what happened...
Maybe because he's already just like...
He found Selyse in the morning, remember?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
He's just like insult to injury to himself at this point. He's just like, fuck it. The fuck? Like, what is there left to live for? I don't know.
Too much pride, dude. Like,
Yeah, and then he pulls out his sword, and like the rest of the men follow. But you see like an aerial view of the cavalry.
they just get swarmed.
Yeah, and you see people like deserting already. Like it's this big swarm of the cavalry, and then Stannis' little army just scattered everywhere, with a couple like formations in the front, and the back is just people running away. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was so like, just so like a good shot of to explain the situation. Because there's somebody that said like in the background, like we have no chance, and they're start running away, and then it cuts to fucking Stannis in the
woods.
Mm-hmm. Like just hurt and kind of using his sword as a walking stick to lean over against a tree, and then two of the Bolton like troops are gonna go kill Stannis, and he still fights him off, like even though how injured he is, and then he sits by the tree, and that's when Brienne comes in, and is like, by the name or by, it's like you killed your brother Renly with blood magic, and he's like, yeah, I did. Like he's just like,
I love that part. He's like, yeah,
All right, have at it.
and then
do your duty.
oh yeah, because Brienne's like, in the name of King Renly, the one true king, gives a whole bunch of titles and shit, and it's like, I sentence you to death or to die. And Brienne's like, do you have any last words? And Stannis like, all right, go on, do your duty. And Brienne kind of taken aback, like, really? Like, you don't want to say anything? Like, and she's like, all right, fuck it, and kills him. So Stannis is dead. And while that's going on, Sansa's she puts the candle in the highest tower, but nobody comes. So she's like, I have to get out of here before Ramsay gets back. And she's walking through the Winterfell, and that's when she's confronted by Miranda.
Kind of looks like Home Depot.
What do you mean?
The second story of Winterfell, the area that they've been filming in, looks like Home Depot. The wood looks too clean, like real. You can still see stickers on there.
Like it's like hundreds of years old castle.
does
Well, I
not
mean,
look like
because Roose kind of mentions like we can take a siege because the walls have been renovated, or not renovated, but they've been repaired. So that could be it, but also like it's just probably a bad set design. Like they're just like, oh fuck, we need a Winterfell, and they kind of like tore it down. Like, wait, we do need Winterfell now? Fuck, okay, fine, let's build it again. But yeah, Sansa's kind of looking for a way out of Winterfell, and she's confronted by Miranda and Reek, and Miranda's just like has an arrow pointed, like a bow and arrow pointed at her. And she's like, well, he doesn't really need all of you. He just needs those parts to make an heir or two. And Reek kind of just saves Sansa's life by pushing Miranda off the edge of the railing.
Which was fucking cool to
Yeah,
watch.
he did like a gimp super move attack. It was like, wow, just throwing her over the...
And that CGI looked horrible. Like her falling like down.
I like the way the head smashed.
Yeah,
that was good.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And then as that happens, Ramsay, like the gates are open, so Ramsay's coming back. So it's like, oh fuck, we need to get out of here. And they climb up an even higher wall to jump down an even higher thing.
They jump into snow though.
Well, the walls. I heard that I was listening to another podcast. They said that the walls, it had snowed so much that the sides of Winterfell had snow up to 25 feet.
Yeah, like
high.
half of it was snow.
So they like literally fell into the snow and just like some Simpsons type shit.
So yeah, they escape, and that's where we end with Sansa this season. And then in Dorne, Jaime, Marcella, and Bronn and Tristan are leaving for King's Landing, and Marcella. Well, before they leave, fucking Snackstick lady gives Marcella a kiss on the cheek. Oh, not on the cheek, on the lips, as a farewell.
She kisses her ugly too, like fucking sushi kiss. Like,
and then like they're on the ship, and Marcella's like, hey, Uncle Jamie, I know you're my dad. Like, you know, like, no, I'm not dumb.
He's actually opening up to her and saying, I need to tell you something. And she's just like, it's okay. And I'm just like, wow, you're fucked up too.
It's like, where do you think I got these awesome curls from?
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Her third arm coming
I know.
out of her neck, just like,
If I don't need enough fire and I faint, you know what I mean? All hemophiliac.
And then she starts bleeding from her nose and collapses, and
Not enough iron.
it's revealed that Illyria secretly poisoned her by kissing her. So, and it was
Fucking
just so dumb
hate
because
everything
they
about
kill her, and they're at the dock still just staring at the boat like.
No, and no one, no, and they didn't turn around, right? If I was Jamie Lannister and my daughter just died, I would be like, "Fuck you, turn around. I'm gonna go talk to the prince."
They're like,
Jamie's just there or what?
they're like right like.
And
Come
then where
on,
was
dude.
the prince?
Come on.
Wasn't he going to?
Yeah, he
Yes.
was with
So
them,
he
and
was
then
there
and that's
the
where
whole boat ride.
that's where the
With the other sand snakes.
The
They
other
were on the
sand
fucking
snakes.
boat. How the fuck did they get there?
And then in King's Landing, Cersei confesses to committing adultery with her cousin Lancel to the High Sparrow, but denies having slept with Jaime or conspiring to have Robert Baratheon killed. So she kind of gives in to the High Sparrow and does her confession. And I like the way the High Sparrow just played with her because she's like, for you confessing, you still have to do your trial, but we're gonna allow you to go back to the Red Keep. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. She's like, it's like, when can I go back? She's like, after your atonement. And she's like, what, atonement? And then it cuts to Cersei being washed, naked being washed, and gets her
Getting her
haircut.
haircut.
And they make her walk through King's Landing barefoot, naked, for all the men to see, and just walking behind her with a fucking bell. Shame.
Brotherfucker.
Shame.
Yeah.
But it's so funny how like people are just like from the sept, like closer to the sept, people are just like respectful, just like staring at her and quiet. And then once she gets to like further away from the sept, that's when people start turning ugly. And some guys like calls her a cunt, and then everybody joins in like, oh, we can do that? Yeah, fuck you.
The guy go and like show his shit to her.
Yeah. Why don't you? What does he say? He's a Lannister.
He's like, I'm a Lannister too. Suck my cock.
yeah.
Oh man. And then like then the lady's like, I have had less dicks than the queen or whatever. Like,
Oh yeah.
and then she finally gets to. Oh, sorry, what's his name?
Oh no, just that the whole walk of atonement was 6 minutes long, of just ching, ching,
Shame.
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 Cunt.
Okay, it didn't occur to anybody just to punch the high septum in the throat, collapse his windpipe, watch him die, and then the whole thing dissolves. Like there was no leader besides him.
No,
Like no, these are the masterful lords of Westeros that are so cunning, and no one thought about doing that. I'm sorry, I just hate the whole thing.
No, and then once she gets to the Red Keep, like right before there's like the little she gets into the gate, there was like guards standing just like in formation as she's just like stumbling towards the gate. Like none of them try to help her from that point on. Like they're just standing there. Like nobody's like, here, let me get you like inside, or let me cover you up before you go inside. Everybody, they're just standing there. And then once she does get into the gates, Qyburn's the only one that goes to greet her. Like everybody's just standing around staring at her, and he gives her like a blanket and to cover herself, and then you hear the heavy footsteps coming in the background.
I love that part.
And then Cameron's like, let me introduce you to your newest member of the King's Guard. He took a vow of silence until your enemies are dead.
All of them.
And it's the mountain just like purple in the face because
Red eye.
he's
Undead,
reanimated.
Yeah.
Question. There's a theory that back earlier in the season that remember when she sets a bounty out for Tyrion's head, and they bring the dwarf's head and they put it on the table, and he's like, "Oh, leave that." There's a theory that he cut off the head of the mountain and put the dwarf's head on there.
But
That's why you don't
Yeah.
see it, and eventually, probably next season when they knock it off, it'll be like a shocking thing. Like, oh, remember when they did that?
It's like a Tyrion lookalike.
Yeah,
What?
it's gonna be like the little brother. That's why I'm like, oh, maybe.
it'll probably be like they'll be battling within the same vicinity, and then you see a dwarf's head fall, and you think Tyrion, and then it's not Tyrion, and it's
It's the mountain.
the mountain or something.
That'd be
you know.
weird.
And then you kind of see like Cersei like crying and sobbing, and then when she sees like the mountain again, like she just stops crying and like
You bitch is gonna pay.
yeah.
Dude, I thought she was gonna like go Super Saiyan or like Super Cersei, like because that and like she was like obviously she's blinking a bit. I'm like, oh, she's taking like mental images. Like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. I'm gonna
Yep.
kill this motherfucker. I'm gonna
Yep.
kill this. Like, it was so good.
Okay. And then to finish season 5, Jon sends Sam to Old Town to become a maester along with Gilly and her baby, acknowledging the romantic relationship between Sam and Gilly. And then Dawes arrives to ask for supplies and wanting reinforcements, but John refuses because, it's not his battle. And then while they're arguing, Melisandre comes to the gates, and she just looks like out of it. She's just like, fuck. And the first question from Dawes is like, where's the princess? Like, how's Shireen? And she just doesn't say anything. And so they know that the battle was lost. And then at night, John is just chilling in his office, reading some squirrels, going through Instagram, old-timey Instagram, or old-timey Twitter, sorry. And then at night, Ollie tells John that a wildling had recently seen his uncle Benjen Stark. And then he's just like, where? And he runs outside. It's like, oh, over there. And there's a group of crows or like Night's Watchmen just standing in a circle. And he goes in, and then he sees a sign, traitor. And he turns around, and then Sasha stabs him in the stomach or in the chest. Is like, for the watch. And the brothers take turns stabbing him in the chest, and repeating for the watch.
For the watch.
For the watch.
And then Ollie's the last person to stab him.
For the watch.
Fuck that kid.
I just imagine John turning around and seeing Ollie, and he says Ollie, he just says the last thing he says is Ollie. And it reminds me of a Shakespeare thing. It's like et tu
brute.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna say that. I was like, he better not. It was funny. And then the last shots are John laying on the snow with his blood pooling around him. And that's how we end.
I don't remember. Were they crying when they were stabbing him?
No.
Just Ollie.
Just Ollie.
Yeah, I think Ollie. I don't think he was. I think he was crying.
Ollie was like, it's really fucked up, but Sam told me to. And then just like, for the watch.
So yeah, and that's how we end season 5. So that's it. That's fucking crazy. Like I said, this is a long podcast, but because I feel like episode 7 through 10 were the ones with the meat in it, and it's just a whole bunch of backstory that you need to get through so that it pays off on the later half of the season. So thank you for sticking with us. If you have any comments or concerns, please let us know at the bottom of the comments. Do you guys have anything to add as we wrap up?
Nope.
All right, let's go get some let's get out of here. For the watch.